Hello, 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 Sweet Life Squad. Come on in, my YouTube friends. Hope you are doing well today. Come on in, sweethearts. Turn this. All right, so I want to talk about tonight, and I'm laughing because I think it's quite funny. Funny, but not funny, right? So, why do I feel like it's easy to talk to AI, hence ChatGPT, Gemini, things of that nature, than talking to my dietitian? What is going on? Let's talk about it tonight. Hello, Cara. How are you doing, sweetheart? Thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in. I hope you're doing well. Yes. So, yes, Cara, I had, been dealing with a dietitian um for a little couple few weeks now, few weeks. And I want to, talk to them. And I've had several dietitians within, this better health journey that I've been on since 2024. And most of the time when I'm, talking to a dietitian, you know, previously it was always, you're doing a great job. My A1C was 15.1 when I found I had diabetes in 2024. And then I had to go on insulin, two different insulins, fast acting right before I would do this shot right before I eat a main meal, so like a breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and then I would have to do a nighttime, the long acting um, insulin injection at the night before I go to bed. And so I want to get off of that. So I decided, you know what, I got to find something to do because I did not want to be on insulin. It was already, a hard pill to swallow to hear that I had type 2 diabetes, right? Something I dreaded, right? A couple years prior to that, I found out I had, I was like pre-diabetic. And I'm like, that right there, let me figure out how I can, make some changes in my life so that I won't, hopefully develop diabetes. Well, I tried different diets. I tried to, do some exercise. I did all the things that we would normally do, right? I had already had high blood pressure. I had already had kidney disease by that time. And so, because of uncontrolled um, blood pressures and not eating like I was supposed to, or exercising and all the things that I was supposed to do back then, I developed kidney disease. So then, come years later, like I think it was around 2022 is when I found out, or maybe between 2020 and 2022, I found out I had pre-diabetes. So I'm like, okay, let me find out. My doctor was like, do you want to get on medication? Or because it was up there, it was like a 6.4, which is, that's like right on the cuffs, how we say it, right on the cuffs of, being a diabetic. If you have an A1C of 6.5 or higher, then that's, considered diabetes, right? And it's type 2 diabetes. Which is what I have. So anyway, so yeah, I'm like, I was dreading the moment of hearing that, and I was hoping that I would, never get to that point. But even though I did, I was saying my doctor was had said, "Do you want to get on some kind of medication now, or do you want to go home and do the things you need to do for as eating better, as well as doing." Making sure you exercise and things of that nature, getting your hydration and all that good stuff, all the things, right? So I'm like, yeah, let me do that. I'm gonna, pick option B because I don't like taking medicine. Now I'm not saying anybody else does, right? But there are some people that don't mind taking medication, whether it's supplements or just regular medications. But I tended not to want to take them. And so, like, for years, even with the blood pressure medicine, I was not taking it like I was supposed to. At that point, I was like, I'm praying to God. God, you are a healer. You said I am healed by your stripes. I am healed, Jesus, and all that. And I had the faith part about it, but I was not doing the work. I was not doing the work, that is required to, try to help me when it comes down to, bettering, if that's a word, my health, right? So with that being said, you know, faith without works is dead. So I ended up developing diabetes and found out 2024, like July of 2024. And so I became like very sad about it, of course, when I initially found out. And I'm like, okay, I got to do something about this, and I got to do something fast. When I got my lab work results, they told me I was at a 15.1 with my A1C. I was over 400 with my blood glucose, and the A1C should be 5.6 or under, right? For a normal A1C. And it should be, your fasting blood sugars, which is what I had fasted before I got, did the blood test. It should be under like 100 or under, right? You don't want it to be right at 100. You want to kind of be a little lower than that. So, yeah, I was like, I got to figure something out. I'm talking obesity, blood pressure issues, kidney disease, as well as now type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes is a beast. It is a beast. It's a very, very horrible disease that could potentially, you can lose so much from it, your eyesight, you can, which is diabetic retinopathy. You can lose, your limbs, you can lose, because of poor circulation and just different things. You could lose, because the sugars are all over your body and it's not doing what it's supposed to do, right? Your body does not know how to process the sugars that we eat, the carbs, as well as the actual refined sugars, right? So with that being said, when we eat something, it's supposed to go to, it goes through your body. As soon as it hits your tongue, it starts moving through your body. And it's supposed to, your sugar's going to go up a little bit or what have you. But then after so long, it's supposed to go back down. And when you're a diabetic, or even before you're diabetic, even with insulin resistance, it don't always go back down when it's supposed to, right? So you have say if you were to check your sugar before you decide to eat something, okay, right before you eat, then, or I just like go backwards. In the morning, when you check your blood sugars, those blood sugars should be under 100 milligrams per deciliter. And then when you're about to eat your food, it should be, it should be at a baseline because you haven't eaten, same under that 100, right? For those who are not diabetic. And with that being said, when you actually, if you go ahead on and eat and you have something with carbs in it, it's going to, especially, it's going to go up. That sugar is going to go up, right? And then once it go up, it should be coming back down by a certain time. Between 60 and 90 minutes, it should be pretty much back to baseline. And that baseline is whatever when you took that blood glucose, with that glucometer before you ate, it should be pretty much back to that level. Okay. Even though you have eaten something, that's how the body is supposed to work. But with people that have a lot of insulin resistance, people that have diabetes type 2, it could take a while before it goes back down like it should be, before it reaches baseline again, right? And so that's an issue. And if it continues to do that over some time, then of course that's when you develop type 2 diabetes. For those who did not develop it, for those may just be insulin resistance or maybe abnormal at some point, but then everything started acting up after a while. You became insulin resistant and you either was, borderline pre-diabetic or you been pre-diabetic. After a while, it may become diabetic. You may become diabetic. So yes, I'm going to get into this chat real quick. Hold on. Let's see who's here. Somebody else came in. Hello, Miss Tamika. How you doing, sweetheart? Thanks for coming in. Hello, Vivi. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in. Hope you're doing well tonight. See, so Carr says, "Wow, thanks for sharing, Kim J. I can hear the disappointment in having the diagnosis and how challenging it has all been. Yes, but I also hear how you rose above it. Yes, yes. All right, and chose to be the warrior we have come to know and love. Thank you so much for that. Yes, 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 Carr. Thank you for that. That warmed my heart. Yes, made me smile. Hello, Shiny. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in. I hope you're doing well tonight, sis. All right. So let's see. Yeah. I'm just looking at the everybody's comments. Okay, gotcha. Uh-huh. Yes, ma'am. Thanks for coming in and listening in with us, Shiny. All right. So or to us, right? So anyway, so like I said, when I found out I had the diabetes, I was like, okay, and I got to figure something out. And so, of course, the first thing, of course, I cried about it. I was shocked, kind of like, what am I about to do? You know, because I knew people that lost their limbs, that lost their life, that lost their eyesight, poor circulation and having neuropathy, which is, where you feel like a lot of your nerve damage, in your fingers, in your feet, they've lost, like I said, limbs, their toes, their legs, up to their thighs and just different things, So, and that's just to name a few things that it does to our bodies when you're diabetic. So, for those who are not diabetic, and you may have heard that you were insulin resistant, or you've heard, that those A1C levels, those numbers are going up a little bit more, and it's getting close to that, that pre-diabetes, that that pre-diabetes range or the diabetic range. You want to try to do as much as you possibly can to get it down. Once you become a diabetic, and I say they say because I am a spiritual person and I believe that God knows how to heal us, right? And so therefore, even though traditionally doctors are going to say you'll never, you'll always be a diabetic. You'll always be a diabetic, even if your A1C go back to normal, right? So with that being said, I still say I'm healed, because that's what my Bible says, right? So I still claim healing, and I'm, reclaiming my health as we talk tonight. I'm still reclaiming my health, right? So I decided to go on this journey to do that, right? I'm like, I can no longer play around with this. I should have did it a long time ago, but I can't change the past. So I'm going to do it now, And so I not after the crying and after the, taking it all in, that news that I, thought was bad news, which it is to me. It's still, I still say it is a bad news to, have that diagnosis. But I started thinking a little different. I'm like, Lord, I need your help. I have to, figure this thing out, right? And I need your help with it. And so he answered my prayer, right? And so I went on a quest to find you know, everything that I can do to try to help me get my A1C down. I did not want, to have to keep sticking myself, with needles, every so many hours of the day, right? At least 4 times a day. I didn't want to have to do that, And I know people that are on insulin, that are insulin, dependent lifelong, and I'm like, I don't want that for myself, I don't, and I'm not my circumstance. So I'm going to do something about it. And so, like I said, God answered my prayers. And then so I did, I took my insulin like I was supposed to, not playing around like I used to back in the day with that blood pressure. No, I went in hard, right? All in, or what have you. And I, made sure I changed my dietary, my nutrition, you know, as well as I started walking. I tease sometimes. I say I went from couch to walk. And so I started deliberately walking outside, because at that time it was summertime. So I was able to walk outside, and I started increasing my steps and all of that. The nutrition part of it, I talked to a dietitian, about it. in the hospital when they had me hospitalized, as well as, when I got out the hospital and I started going to endocrinologist. I talked to, a dietitian there as well, just to find out what I needed to do. As far as I knew, I needed to do a low carb diet, and I decided to go on a very, very strict low carb diet at the time, because I knew carbs and sugar could, spike my blood sugars again, and it may take a while to get down, and I didn't want to depend on that insulin lifelong. So I decided to, like I said, go hard with it. Right? Desperate times call for desperate measures. And I tell this story, people have heard it already, but maybe not in the way I'm saying it today, but people have heard it, but there are new people here. So I, thank you all for those who have heard it to hear me, talk about this spiel again. But anyway, it's my story, it's my testimony. So I talk about it every now and again. So with that being said, so I went ahead with it, talking to the dietitian, and, she gave me some pointers on, when it comes down to, eating, how many carbs I should eat, how many protein I should eat per day or per meal, how much. That's the main thing that they were talking about. Then they didn't talk. She did tell me about the fiber, and the recommended amount is 25 grams of fiber, right? So at that point, I was just taking insulin, right? And then relying on my diet. I know a lot of people have a problem when you hear diet, but my regimen, okay? Regimen to me equals diet as well. So with that being said, it was working. So much so that 3 weeks after I got out of the hospital with the 15.1 A1C, I had gone down to a 12 A1C. Okay. That's not likely, but it worked for me. So I knew God was in this thing. Okay. I knew he was in the center of it, because early on, I wouldn't have been able to go 3 weeks, with a specific, nutritional plan. Okay. I would not have. I would have folded week 1 or week 2. I probably wouldn't even got to week 2. I probably did like week 1 and maybe a half of the next week. And then I would have been back to, my old habits. Right. So that's why I said I know God was doing his thing, right? The thing he normally does, because he's a faithful God. And so, the dietitian told me those things, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I started doing, the things, that as far as when it comes to, how many carbs I can get, and how many how much protein I need, how many grams, per meal, and how much fiber per meal. I didn't know that part. So I'm happy I was able to get to that dietitian for her to tell me that. But even then, I decided to do a lower carb diet, because again, I did not want to stay on insulin for, a long period of time. I didn't want to, I don't like sticking myself with needles. Now, I did ask my dietitian, can I get on Manjaro? Okay. I was hoping that that's all I would have to get on. But she said, no, I will let you, I will prescribe you Manjaro, right? And, get the paperwork, that needs to be done, the pre-authorization form put in, so that, hopefully they'll approve you for it. And more than likely they will. But you have to still do this insulin. So, of course, like I said, I did it. By the end of July, again, I was at 12. My A1C was down to 12 then. I was using a continuous glucose monitor, which is a CGM, as an acronym. And that continuous glucose monitor I was using so that I won't have to prick my finger so often, because during the hospital visit, when they were pricking my finger every so often, my fingers start turning blue. Okay. And it was hurting so bad. No matter where they stuck me at, it was hurting. So I decided to use that CGM to help me monitor my blood sugars, so I'll know if it's, how it's going, And so that was a great tool for me, right? Then I got a call saying your Manjaro isn't approved, and so you can start taking it. So I was taking then insulin and Manjaro, okay, to help me further lower that A1C, as well as, again, doing my very, very low carb diet. And so with that being said, by the time I got back to my appointment in what was that? I think it was August or September of that year, 2024. No, I think it was September. I did my blood work first, and then I went to the doctor for us to talk about it, my endocrinologist, and it showed me I was at an 8.6 at that time. So my A1C was going down fast, right? Again, I know God orchestrated it all. So at that point, I realized, yes, wow, getting a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes at a 15.1, which is, remember I said the diabetes start at 5.6. So being at a 15.1, that was crazy, right? That was extremely high. When you talk to doctors and they have a chart, right? And the chart ends at like 10, A1C of 10. Anything over there is like crazy, right? It is very detrimental, and I could have lost my life. Okay. So they want to try to get you at least back down to a A1C of a 7 or lower to call it manageable, right? But I was like, no, 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 I'm not stopping at a 7. I'm not going to, allow, I, I'm going all in. In other words, I'm going all in. Okay. I wanted to be back normal. So when I talked to my endocrinologist the first time I did, which was like the end of July, he told me, you're doing a great job. You've gotten that A1C down 3 points already. So if you keep doing this, I may be able to take you off the fast acting insulin by our next appointment. But that long acting insulin, you're going to be on more than likely for at least a year. So keep doing the great work, Kim J. Keep doing the great work. So again, by the time I got back to that appointment in September, he was like, I'm taking you out of everything but Manjaro. You're going to stay on Manjaro, but the insulin, cut it. Don't do it no more, right? So everything that I had been doing worked for me, right? It worked for me. The very low carb regimen, the insulin, and at some point Manjaro, it all worked to the point where it was working too much. And so I was having low blood sugars, right? I started having just every now and again, it was going lower. That CGM was helping me understand what was going on, right? So I'm happy to have used it at the moment, right? He told me, my endocrinologist told me, hey, come off the insulin. I'm going to give you Jardiance. So I started the Jardiance and Manjaro. Then he wanted me to go up to the 5 milligram dose because at that point I was at a 2.5. So I asked him, I said, well, can I stay on? No, I went to the 5 because with the 5 milligram, at that point, they were having issues when it came down to, getting medications. And so I was already, at the 5 milligram dose. I just went to the 5 milligram dose at that appointment, right before that appointment. So he wanted me to go to the 7.5 because he was taking me off the insulin, right? And I said, well, I just got on the 5 milligram dose because, the 2.5 that I was on, and I tried to get new medication and they would not give it to me because they didn't have any more in stock. That was when we were having issues with them running out of medications, the GLP-1s. So with that being said, he said, okay, because I want you to titrate up because I want to make sure that you'll be okay with being on this Jardiance and, not being on insulin. Because of course, insulin drops your blood sugars down pretty quick. Where Jardiance, it takes a little longer, to work in your body than insulin does. So he just wanted to make sure I had a safeguard pretty much. Right. So anyway, I asked, can I at least stay on it, one more time? And he said, that's fine, or whatever, but I would need to still monitor my blood sugars. And he knew I had the CGM, and the CGM actually, I had it connected to my doctor's office. So if anything went wrong, he could, call me or I call him and we can have a conversation about it, just in case we need to tweak some more medications or whatever, or my diet. So anyway, I went on and got the 90-day supply because I found out I could get a 90-day, got a 90-day supply. And I was having still issues where my my blood sugar in the morning was like 75, 78. So when I would take my Jardiance, because that's an everyday pill, my A1C, I'm sorry, I keep saying A1C, my blood sugars would go down too far. So I was like, ooh, I need to talk to him about it. I don't need to keep taking this Jardiance and this Manjaro. Now, I was okay taking Manjaro as an injection, right? As a, with the needle, because it was only one time a week. I'm like, I can deal with that. I can deal with one time a week. And I knew it was a medication that could help me with my A1C, lowering it, as well as, a tool that can help me lose some weight, which I had been wanting to do for years, right? So I definitely want to get off Manjaro. So I have a friend, very close friend, that is a nurse practitioner, and she was like, "You need to talk to your doctor about it. You don't need to take both of those medications at the same time if your A1C and your is dropping, right, and then your blood glucose is at 70 something in the morning. The Jardiance might be too much, because it's going to drop it even more, right? So I'm like, okay." Called my doctor, talked to him about it, and I was instructed not to take the Jardiance if my blood sugars were already kind of low in the 70s in the morning. So by the time I got back in January to take my blood work and go back to the doctor, my A1C was at a 5.6, back in the normal range. Okay, back in the normal range. So I started talking to another dietitian. When I talked to her, of course, again, she was excited about what I was doing. Everything was going well. I was losing weight at a rate of over 2 pounds per week, and things of that nature. So she was kind of really a person, when I talk to her, I can ask her questions, about things if I had questions about them, or like if she saw that I may have needed some help, she would give me some help. But she didn't have to do a whole lot because everything was working wonderfully. Everything was working wonderfully. My A1C was going down, it was back to the normal range, I should say, at that point. It was back to the normal range of 5.6. My blood pressure, when it was normally like at one point, y'all, my blood pressure was like 200 something over 100 something, right? Crazy high. Blood pressures numbers should be 120 over 80 or under. Okay. Now they do allow us to be over 120 over 80 to like 139 over 89. That's considered like pre hypertension range, right? But they may not put you on medication right away. Just like they did with me when it came down to my blood sugars, right? In 2022, she was like, do you want to be on this medication, some medication, or do you want to go home and try to fix it yourself? So same thing with blood pressure. After a while, I finally started taking my blood pressure medicine. And this was, like I said, I just went back a little bit further. I did start taking it, but it took something like a life situation that made me start taking it, right? Every day like I was supposed to. And even though I was taking it, again, I still wasn't, eating properly, and I still wasn't exercising. I still wasn't doing all the things that I need to do for my own self. I was just having faith that God was going to heal me, period. And to be honest, God did heal me. Okay. Sometimes it's a delay in us seeing the manifestation of this healing, and I remember praying to God like years before I found out I had diabetes. I'm like, Lord, please do not let me get diabetes. Please, Lord, don't let me get diabetes, or what have you. But again, I was not doing what I was supposed to do. I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't choosing better health. I wasn't choosing me. I was just thinking, oh, I'm going to just do my thing, and I'm young and, I'm good because God got me. That's it. But I evidently forgot about that scripture of faith without works is dead. I must have forgot about it because I surely wasn't living it, right? So yeah, I'm gonna jump in this comment section and let's see. Wait a minute, hold on. All right, and then I just want to bring everybody up to where I'm at today. All right, so Miss Linda says, hello, Miss Linda. How you doing, sweetheart? Thanks for coming in, my dukes. All right, hope you're doing well. All right. She said, good evening to everyone. Everybody saying hello. Car says, amen. Still reclaiming my health. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And even with that, Cara, I know you made a comment a little earlier, but yes, I looked at it in a different light. I realized that yes, while I did not want to ever hear the words, you have diabetes, I felt like it was like my heart dropped. But as time progressed, I thought about it and I'm like reflected on it and I'm like, ooh, this is a blessing in disguise for me. So when I talk about, you know, how we think of things and we want to make sure we're thinking, you know, like some people say glass half full, or thinking positive about things, not having stinking thinking, when things come up to you, because there are going to be things that come, in your ear gates, right? The devil's going to try to implant things in your mind to deter you from what God's word says. And so with that being said, I was like, instead of thinking in a negative way about diabetes and the woes of it, I think it and count it all joy. Because guess what? If I didn't get that diagnosis, I probably still would not be trying to do right by my health. I still wouldn't be putting, you know, my best foot forward. I'll still be playing around. I'm almost sure of it. I'm almost sure of it. So with that being said, that's how I looked at that. It was a blessing in disguise, right? And because I was obedient, you know, and did what I was supposed to do, God honored my prayers and healed my body, right? Yes. He showed me, he showed up and he showed out and showed me that he could and he does. He heard my cry. Even back before I found out I had diabetes, he be working on the back, in the back scenes, where we don't even realize it. Sometimes things are not going to come right away. Some things may come right away. You ask God for something and it happens right away. But there are times when it's going to take some time. And there's going to be a lot of times that it's going to take effort on our parts. It's going to take habits. We're going to have to, come up with, different ways of doing things so that we can make sure that we are, doing everything that we can. Again, all the things, right? We're going to have to figure that out. And as we let him direct us, lead us and guide us, then we will find what we need so that we can continue on. Now, they may not consider me as ever being cured of diabetes, but I know what my Bible says and I know what God is doing in my life, right? So that's when I come up and say, they say that I'll never be cured of diabetes, of high blood pressure, of kidney disease. But what does God say about it? What does his word say about it? That's where I want to keep my mind, on the things that are true. And God's word is true. All right. So let me go a little bit further down in this chat. All right. So Shani says, I'm so irritated. They don't have the shakes I want at Target. I'm sorry about that, Shani. Hello, Felicia Marie B. How are you doing, sweetheart? I hope you're doing well. All right. So Shani says, I'm the same way about the word diet. Diet is a usual food or drink a person eats. We have demonized the word. Right. It's nothing wrong with saying diet, if you're following, say, a Mediterranean, what do you say? Mediterranean what? Regimen, I guess. Some people may say that. Mediterranean diet, American diet. It's okay to say the word. It's okay, right? So I understand why people have the issue with it, but again, like Shani said, the word has been demonized, right? All right. So Vivi says, sorry, y'all, I'm back. Okay. All right. Thanks for coming back in, Vivi. Car, yes, we have. Everybody's saying hi to one another. So Mr. Mika said, all things work together for your good. Yes, for my good. Yes, honey, Romans 8:28. All things work together for my good. And guess what it also says? It's for his glory. It's for his glory, right? So we glorify God for healing us. It's not us, it's him, right? He's making a way, provisions for us. He's making a way for us. And sometimes a way out of no way for us. So that's why we can sing. And that's why we can smile. And that's why we can have a happy heart, a joyful spirit about it, even though things don't work exactly how we want to. But we're going through things for a reason. Sometimes the reason is to help us, to teach us some things. Sometimes it's to go through it, come out of it better, and be able to help someone else. And sometimes you can even encourage people while you're in the midst of going through. People look at you and say, oh, she keeps a smile on her face and she has all these issues. So I need to chill out because I only have one situation. Maybe I only have obesity. But this girl is dealing with diabetes, obesity, kidney disease, hormonal imbalances, all kinds of stuff. And she can smile. She can come on here and talk about she living her sweet, healthy life. What? But then you got some people say, child, ain't that much of smiling in the world. Whatever the case may be. It depends on how you think on things, right? And that's a scripture too in Philippians about how you think on things and what you're supposed to think about. That's why we need to know our Bible, y'all. Get closer and closer to the Lord. So we can do this thing, and have joy, one of the fruits of the Spirit. So Felicia says, my dad just titrated down from 7.5 to 5 milligrams of Manjaro today, and his A1C is finally in the 5s. Awesome. Mr. Felicia Marie B. Daddy, yes. Praise God for Manjaro. I know that's right. And I know Felicia, often says, and it's true. It's the truth. When it comes to, these GLP-1 medications that a lot of us are on and are doing very well with it, even if we're not at our goal yet, if it wasn't for people that have diabetes, because the medication was created for people that have diabetes to help, manage diabetes better, right? If it wasn't for, they would have never known that it could also help with weight loss. So she always, say, or I'll say she says it every now and again, we have to thank God for those Manjaro people, because it, made way for us, paid way for us. Because she's not on Manjaro, she's on, Zepbound or the weight loss medication, right? So yes, she says that all the time. So that's why she has part of the reason why she has a heart for us Manjaro people. Also because of her dad being on Manjaro, and she has, a testimony right here for him, giving his testimony, as she helps him when it comes down to, managing his diabetes. Yes. So sweet. She's so sweet. So Cara says, wow, Felicia Marie B, that's amazing. Praising God with you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Cara. Congratulations, Felicia, to her daddy. Yes. Thank you to gorgeous Tamika. She says, Vivi said, congratulations to Felicia as well. I thought somebody else was. Oh, yeah. Hello, Liza. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in tonight. I hope you're doing well, sweetheart. Thank you for doing. Hope you're doing well. And I know even the Manjaro people, we talk a lot about weight loss, when it comes to this community, because that's the loudest thing, right? But I like talking about health in general and just other things. But I hear other people now, talking even more about how the GLP-1 medication is helping with so many other things besides obesity, and I'm thankful for that. Felicia says, period. Shout out to the diabetics and my Manjaro people. Yes. Yes. Shani says, I think I lost sound. I just pulled up to my house. Okay. I know she be having sometimes signal issues. I have that same thing, Shani. When I go in my subdivision, for some reason, I can hear right outside my subdivision everything. When I go into my subdivision, honey, that signal goes out. Sometimes I'm good up until I get to my garage. As soon as I go in my garage, it goes out. I get in the house, it's fine. I don't know what's up with that, but yeah, I'm here with you. I understand that. So yes, y'all. Um, so with that being said, I thank God for this, a chance to become better at health. And it was by way of having two diabetes, by way of having type 2 diabetes. Even though that's not so good of a thing, I found good in it. Okay, is what I'm saying. So, okay, good, Shadi. Also, awesome. So, anyway, so now again with my dietitian in 2025, as I'm talking to her, she's helping me with things that I have questions about. She's like, Kim J, you're doing so well. Everything is working, or what have you. I did talk to her a little bit about constipation because by that time, December 2024, I was on 7.5 milligram dose, not even on Jardiance. Of course, insulin long gone by then, right? And so I went to that 7.5 mid-December 2024, and I'm rocking and rolling. January 2025, I'm back to normal range, 5.6. My CGM told me at around, I think October or November, that I was likely to be at a 5.6 if I kept going like I was going. So I kind of knew before, I got the actual blood work, right? But I say 5 months. It took me from 15.1 to 5.6 in 5 months because that was recorded, through blood work, that it was 5.6 in January of 2025. Anyway, so I'm going on 7.5. I'm feeling a lot of constipation at the time, and things. So as I'm talking to my, dietitian about it, I'm like, hey, I heard somebody say, within my community that they take a lot more fiber in a day. Okay. And so I was wondering if that's something I may need to do. Instead of the 25, amp it up a little bit. And so she told me, yes, that's fine. Because you're on a GLP-1, because of the slow digestion, and things, it's okay if you want to go up a little bit since you're having the constipation. So I did. I started looking for fibrous foods, okay, more than the things that I was already doing, right? And so I amped it up to 30. My goal is 35 grams of fiber per day, okay, versus the 25 that I was trying to get when I first started my journey to better health. So it started helping me out a little bit. I also started doing, more fruits, more vegetables and things of that nature to make sure that I was getting what I needed, and also hydration. Now, for me, hydration was hard after so long. The further I titrated up, hydration became a little bit harder to get. So while I still get, the hydration in, the water in, and things of that nature, I have to, I kind of find myself drinking a lot more at night, trying to like recoup from what I did not do during the daytime, right? Now, y'all know, I've already told y'all before that my timing is on Pacific time, okay, versus Eastern Standard where I live. So with that being said, of course, I don't get up till a lot of times 1 or 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard time. So that's my start of the day, even though the clock runs from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m., right? And then the next day comes. So I'm like pushing my time already. But not only that, I'm like, I'm not thirsty. I don't want to drink nothing. I'm on a GLP-1. It's I don't want to drink, And so I would find myself, like I said, trying to catch up at night, or what have you. So with that being said, sometimes it was hard to get in. I was trying to do like 80 ounces a day, and it was kind of hard to get in that, or what have you. So those type things the dietitian could help me with, right? Okay, try to, drink a little bit throughout the day and things of that nature. But other than that, here's some fibrous foods. Don't try to get all soluble fiber. Make sure you're getting insoluble and soluble fiber. Both of them are needed, things of that nature. She would be able to tell me. Other than that, she's like, you're doing a great job, Kim J. Keep going. You're doing it. You're still losing weight, even though you're not losing over 2 pounds like you were in 2024. You still are losing by By the time, we got to July, which was my first year on Manjaro, I was 76 pounds down, but and I was so excited about it, right? But I was still having low blood sugars because I was so low with my with my carb intake, right? And with that being said, I needed to do something about it. So I was like, okay, you got to go up in your carbs. You need to go up in your carbs, or what have you. And you need to do a little bit more of the at that point, that's all I knew I needed to do, is get more carbs in per day. And so I went up in my carbs, but I forgot. I forgot, y'all. I also went up in fiber. So the carbs that I was increasing to was not hitting the same as if I was not going up in my fiber. So if I stayed at 25 grams of fiber per day and I went up in my carbs, then it would have probably helped me a little bit more. But because I was up in my fiber as well, we call it net carbs, especially if you're on keto, you know about net carbs. Those net carbs don't hit like the total carbs if you didn't have as much fiber in you. So with that being said, it still wasn't enough, right? So I never talked to that dietitian again. She was supposed to get back with me. I think it was like around July of 2025. Because the last time I think we talked was like maybe April or May of 2025. And with that being said, she was like, okay, my appointment calendar only goes up to like 3 months. So I'm going to call you back. Well, she never did. And I'm like, since I am doing okay with everything, and I kind of know what I need to do as far as nutrition is concerned, it's been working. I never called her back either. We didn't call each other back. So I just did my own thing or what have you, did what I knew, researched like I needed to research and all that stuff, right? And so by that time, because I was having issues with my blood sugars, and my sugars had even gone down to a few times in the 50s, my fasting blood sugars, and you want it to be over 70, anywhere, like I said, between 70 and 100, or it can go up to like 126. Some people say 130 if you're a diabetic. So I was going under 70 some days, a little bit more often than I would like, right? And then when I was at the times that I had like a 56, I was like, okay, I got to talk to this doctor. This is not good, because if it goes to like a 50, you definitely need to be rushing to the hospital for them to help you with, get that blood sugar up very, very fast. Because once it goes down so low, then it's going to plummet even faster. So I was like, this is not going to work. So I had to go down on my medication back to a 5 milligram dose. And even though that may have been good for my blood sugars, that was supposed to help my blood sugars, right? So it can kind of stabilize a little bit better. So I won't go down to no 50s. And it did. I didn't go back down to the 50s, right? But I still was having low blood sugars here and there. Not as much, but here and there. And inflammation came and hit me so hard. Right? I've had a prior injury. For those who, don't know, I had a prior injury on my knee, a knee injury, and with my torn patella, and I had to have, surgery and everything. So when the inflammation hits, a lot of times it's right there in those knees, really bad, or what have you, and other places in my body, but definitely I feel it in the knees area. And then I started, going up on carbs again, a little bit, not a lot, and thinking that was going to help me. And I started gaining weight, and that's when I actually got to like 15 pounds, about 13 to 15 pounds over, I gained back, right? And so ever since then, I've been on this plateau in the 90s, 190s, y'all, in the 190s. And I'm like, what is going on? So my doctor ended up letting me go back to the 7.5 milligram dose. I still wasn't seeing a dietitian. He'd asked me, have you talked to my dietitian yet? And I'm like, yeah, we've talked, before, but we were hoping that 7.5 was going to help me. Mm-hmm. With the inflammation, as well as with the making sure I maybe lose some more weight. Okay. So it helped a little bit with the inflammation, but I still was having it, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm like 6 months into this plateau. Am I on a soft maintenance? Maybe. Could that be it? Maybe I'm just on a soft maintenance. My body has reached a set point and it don't want to do nothing else. It's like, what are we doing? Like, don't keep losing. Why, why are we still losing? Is something wrong with us? Like, are we sick? Does somebody have us captured? What is going on? So it's fight me tooth and nail. So I'm like, it may be a soft maintenance, and maybe I just need to chill out and stop worrying about it. But because I know I had already gone down to 177, back in July, I wanted to get back down there, and I still want to, right? So while I wasn't trying to chase the scale was on my mind, right? And I also knew that that's part of my better health journey. So I don't want to look like I don't want to look like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, and I just want to get down to my goal, just like everybody else. But I was talking to Chad about it, and I'm like, you know what? Because he was like, no, don't chase the scale, ma'am. Don't be chasing the scale. Don't be tripping. But I'm like, it's not even that I'm chasing the scale. What it is that I've been waiting for 6, 7 months, and I just want the scale to go down. At this point, I've been very patient, right? And so I just would like my scale to go down some more. That's all. That's all. That's all. I may not want to get to that goal of 165, but I definitely want to go lower, than 190s. Okay. So that's where I'm at with that. Now, when it comes to dietitian, I decided to, get with a new dietitian. Okay. And I'm sure y'all probably already heard about the new dietitian that's through Faye Nutrition. I wanted to get with Nourish, but my insurance company um did not approve that. So I went through somebody that was supposed to be comparable, and that's Faye Nutrition. So I'm talking to my new dietitian, and I told them when because you do a little survey, and you let them know what you're coming for. I am a diabetic, but I'm coming for weight loss. I want somebody that's going to help me with weight loss. Maybe the things that I was doing before, I need to tweak more. And maybe I've exhausted everything that I knew to do. So let me see if a new dietitian can help me. And that's what I was trying to do. I'm hearing all these people on, within our community saying, and even outside the community saying, I use Nourish, and, it has done wonders for me, me working with my dietitian. So I'm like, okay, hopefully they can give me that same, type of service, right? All the great things I've heard about Nourish. Now I know nobody's 100% great, right? But I knew also that I think, the people that I've heard have had great success. So let me try it, right? So that's what I decided to do. Well, I noticed that my dietitian, when I first started talking to her, she wanted to find out, everything about me, what kind of supplements I'm taking, what kind of medications, how, what's my size and all of that stuff, like my height and my weight and all of that. And so I told her everything. We had the, appointments. We've actually had 4, you know, but as I'm going and talking to her and everything, she immediately said, "Hey, this is why I want you, your recommendation for your diet, your macros. I want you to hear." So I talked y'all about she wanted me at 200 to 239 carbs, and I'm like, I'm a low carb eater, and you want me at 200? Like, who finna do that? Like, who finna go way up there? I'm a diabetic. I'm now up to between 100 and 125 in my carbs a day. And you want me to go up to 200? And she didn't explain nothing. She just put that in our app that we have. So I'm like, okay, that is weird and sounds very unattainable for me. So how are we going to do this? She also wanted me to have my fats at like 50 something. I thought maybe it was 60 something at the time. And so I'm like, that don't work for me because I like whole fat foods, the cheeses, the milk. I'm now eating, I'm using avocado oil instead of canola oil most times, when I do use oil. So I'm using the good oils. I'm eating an avocado every now and again. all those, I'm eating nuts and seeds, all the healthy things that they say we're okay eating, right? That's going to render a lot of fat. And I eat meat. I eat um, ground beef. And even if you eat turkey versus beef, if you look at those labels, they're not that far apart. It's not like, oh my gosh, you're going to, it's so much better eating turkey versus, ground beef. It's not enough for me to say I'm going to just change the turkey because I don't even like ground turkey like that. I really don't like it at all, but I probably can doctor it up a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to though. So I'm like, I want to do things that's sustainable for me. So she put the information in the app. She didn't talk to me about it. And then so the second appointment we talked, and I'm like, okay, so ma'am, and then she wanted me to go up on these calories from where I was about 13 something to 14 something to 15, between 13 and 15, in the high 13s at that. So like 15. I've been on that for a while. Now I started tracking, but I wasn't tracking that much. Okay. Out here and there. I was just off and on with it because I had a love and hate relationship with tracking. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to, this is a lot for me. Okay. You're telling me to up my carbs. You're telling me to up my calories, and you're telling me to track. That's a lot to intake, to digest. Okay. A lot of discipline, a lot. So anyway, so I'm like, okay, when I talked to her in the second appointment, I'm like, so what are you talking? Are you saying slowly go up in these calories, in these carbs, And at that point, she also told me to track and just track 3 days, and then we'll talk about it. 2 days on a weekday and one weekend, because weekends a lot of times it's less typical than you're more probably strict during the week versus the weekend. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, the next appointment, I did do some tracking. I didn't get a weekend tracking, but I did do some. So I'm like still kind of torn or feeling a certain way about, the amount of carbs and calories she wants me to do. But she did reassure me that I could go up gradually. The thing so after that, I'm listening to her. She's, so every appointment, if she needs to, she'll tweak some things in my app and say, I'm going to add tasks or I'm going to take away tasks. She has not taken away no tasks. She's been adding tasks over and over again, up more and more and more every time I see her. So, and we do virtual appointment. So the third appointment, I think, or third or fourth, no, the third appointment, she told me, I talked to her again. I'm like, ma'am, 200 to 239 is crazy. I can't do that. I can't do that. And I asked her some questions about GLP-1. I'm like, if you're on a GLP-1, should I, are we considering that? I'm on a higher dose of medication, and I don't know if I can get 1,750, calories in a day, like not off the bat anyway. I don't know if I can, because I'm good. I'm good with the 13, say 75 to 1550. I'm good with that, right? So, I don't know if I can do that. So help me out with that. So then also I told her, also, are we talking a range? Or are we talking just 1750? And that's hard. That's a hard, number. She told me the range would be 200 less or 200 more than that 1750. That's what she wants me at. So I'm like, okay, well, in my head, okay, so we talking 1550. All right, I might be able to do that, in my head. I ain't tell her out loud. But after a while, as we were talking, I'm like, 15, I'm about right now, I was tracking. I'm like, my last week tracking said like 1480 something or whatever, or maybe a little bit less, but it was at 14 something. I said, so, I'm getting close to that 1550, but I'll try to reach that or whatever. So she said, okay, well, if you want to do the 15, that's fine. But you need to, I'll reduce your carbs to 176 grams per day. I'm like, that's a lot still. In my head, I'm still like, that's too much. That's too much. I'm still at between 100 and 125 on an average, but I had been going up a little bit since I'm tracking. I'm up to 130 something. Some days I get 150 something, but then there are days I still was at the 100 to 125. So she said gradually go up 20 grams per week. I'm like, okay, cool. I can do that gradual up. That sounds good. It sounds more attainable. Then we talked again that fourth week. When we talked the fourth week, I had gone out one day to eat, and my calories, I tracked it and it was 1900 and something calories. And then the next day I was like, well, since I got 1900, and the prior days I was at 15, which is what I had on my tracker to do 1500. I gradually went up. So I was like, okay, from the last week. So I was like, okay, cool. So now I'm at 19 something. So what I'll do is I'm going to try not to get to the 1500 the next day so that it can kind of, average out during the week. So, this is just my thoughts because she didn't tell me exactly how to do it. She didn't give me no, she gave me some information, like some one-on-one on macros versus micros, and how carbs treat your body, in your body, how it kind of flows, and how protein flow in your body, and how fiber works, fats work. But she did not tell me, like, give me a suggestion on what I can do to raise these carbs or raise these calories. She just told me to gradually go up. So I didn't know what I was doing. I'm just doing what I thought was best, right? um Blindly or what have you. So with that being said, the next day I said, well, I'm not going to hit the 15, and hopefully, by the end of the week, it'll average still at the 1500, calories, you know, on a weekly average. When she heard we went over my information for those 4 days that I had tracked, and mind you, I'm tracking now. I have tracked for 3 weeks. So I was feeling good. I was like, okay, we're going to talk about this nutrition this week, and I'm going up gradually, like she asked me to. I'm feeling good that this is going to be a good conversation, right? It seems like all she did was harp on that day that I went from 19, I think I went to like right up under 1300 calories the next day. She harped on it really, really bad. And she's like, you should not do that. That's too big of a gap, blah, blah, blah. Now she wasn't mean, but when I was hearing it, it felt like, Kim, you failed. You did not do well. Like, what are you doing? You know, um, and I told her why I did what I did. And it's still just, I'm like, oh my God. I felt like I was a little bit being scolded, even though she was nice about it. But and then I'm like, well, why didn't we go over? And I didn't get a chance because we only had a 30-minute conversation. So I didn't have a lot of time to ask other questions that comes in my mind later as we're talking. I didn't have that time. So it was okay, well, when we want to see each other next time, But she didn't ask me about the previous week to find out, okay, well, this week you ate out and I understand. So let's talk about last week and find out, what you did last week. Was that a little bit better? Was it, how did that go? The last week, the 3 or 4 days that you track, so she can have a trend. She didn't do none of that. So also when I got, because I always get notes at the end of the day, at the end, once we're done, she'll send me some notes. And the note said that one of the notes said that I need to, I was still very low in my numbers. And I'm thinking like, but you told me to gradually go up. So it just felt like I just was not doing what I was supposed to do, and all I was doing was my best, what I thought was best, that's all I was doing. So I'm like, well, my goodness, I felt so bad that day, y'all. I felt so, so bad. I was like, oh my God. So I talked to my crew, about, what was going on. And I'm just like, the people, that my little confidants. And I'm like, this is crazy, And so I started thinking, and they were like, Kim, you were doing this already. Like, you know what to do. So you may need to just do what you were doing before. Just get back to what you were doing before, and let's see if that works, Um, but yeah, I'm like, as I continue to, think about it, I'm like, do I need to fire this lady? We talk about if the people that we are entrusting our, our health in, if we're entrusting them in the health to help us, and is she really doing a service for me? If she just make me feel bad, also, is she just textbook on me? Did she just textbook me? Like, I asked for an individualized plan to help me lose weight, as well as better health, of course. When we talked that last day as well, that last meeting, I asked her, I said, when she gave me the carbs and the protein and the fat numbers, because I asked her for it, she said that she wanted me to do 45% carbs intake, 25% protein, and 30% fat, right? But the number she gave me was the 1550 calories, progressing 20 grams per week. She wanted me to do, I think it was like, let me see. The carbs was in numbers is 176 to 200. Now, the last appointment, she just said 176. Now she's saying 176 to 200. And I'm still like, girl, that's too much. I'm not doing that. And then protein was 70 to 96. And then fats was 52. So she went down on the fats and she went down on the calories. I'm like, yeah, that ain't gonna work. Neither one. That the carbs not gonna work. The fat's not gonna work. That protein is the only thing that will work. Now I told that to my nephrologist, which is a kidney doctor, told me that I can go between 90 and 100 when it comes to protein. She had like I didn't even say that to her. She just told me the 70 to 70 what two what I said 70 to 96 grams. I'm like, okay. So I'm listening to her, but I'm thinking, not gonna happen. None of this stuff gonna happen, honey. So I'm frustrated at this point, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. She kind of broke my little spirit, y'all. So I'm just like, okay, I got to figure something else out. And I know y'all in the chat, and y'all probably chatting it up, but I'm sorry, I'm a little long with this little information, but I want to get it out tonight before I get in the chat again. So yeah, so I'm like, I might need to fire this lady. We talk a lot about if the person is not serving you well, serving you best, then you need to advocate for yourself. And so I've been advocating for myself, but I didn't want to be too hasty with it. But my thought is I need to find somebody that, for one, talks to patients and helps patients that are on GLP-1 medications. Because while that may not matter when it comes to them telling you exactly what you should be eating every day, no matter what kind of medication you're on, that may not matter to them. But for a person that understands GLP-1, especially if they're on it too, but for those that are not on it, but they understand it, guess what? They'll be a little bit more compassionate. They'll be a little bit more compassionate when it comes to, helping somebody that is on a GLP-1 medication, that's trying to lose some weight, that's trying to get better health. When I was asking her, where does she get these percentages from? Is that for everybody or whatever? She's like, it's for those who are, they're helping, I guess, with weight control, blood glucose control, and spiking of blood sugars. And I'm thinking like, well, who blood sugar spiking? Didn't I just tell you I've had low blood sugars before? What are we talking about? Weight control? I'm not trying to control the weight. I'm trying to lower the weights, baby. What are we doing? What are we talking about? So yeah, my thoughts, and I'm about 95% sure I got to find somebody else. This ain't gonna work. No, don't give me no textbook knowledge. I can find out that. Matter of fact, a lot of that stuff I've learned because I've experienced it. And I'm not saying I know everything, because there's some things I do not know. It's a lot of things I don't know. Right? That's why I went to her in the first place. But that 101 stuff, she may be able to tell me some stuff that I missed or whatever. But I'm like, I don't need that. I need an individualized plan. What I asked you for in the beginning, not just a person that's saying, hey, you diabetic, you probably have a lot of high blood sugars. Your sugar it takes a long time for your sugar to go back down to the baseline. But am I dealing with that? And I asked her, I said, well, do you all check blood work? Do y'all, do blood work at all? Only if we have to, if we think there's a need. Then as she was talking to me, she also talked a little bit about, she started talking about being malnourished. But you're not, I'm not saying you're malnourished. Well, what are you saying, ma'am? Why are we talking about malnourishment? What are we doing? Like it just seemed like it went from bad to worse. So yeah, I can almost bet you I'm finna find somebody else. I gotta find somebody else, y'all. So anyway, that was my thing tonight. I'm like, I'm talking. So I start, of course, after these meetings, I went to ChatGPT. Okay, I called my ChatGPT chat, and I call him a him. I know a lot of people laugh like that's an it. If anything, it's a thing, not a person. I say him. So I'm talking to Chat about it, telling him what she stated, telling him, my situation and the things that he told me sound so much more compassionate than this person, that's supposed to be in my corner, that's supposed to be helping me. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't talk to dietitians. I'm not going to say that at all, because I think there are a lot of great dietitians. And for somebody else, she would be great. But for me, in my situation, I need somebody that can go beyond textbook, that can think outside of the box to help me with my situation. I notice a lot of times on my weight loss journey, on my health journey, all the journeys that I've been on, that it's a little different than, a regular, like whatever the regular degular is. It's always outside of the box. Again, my blood pressures at some point in life, when I found find out I had diabetes, I'm sorry, high blood pressure, 200 something over 100 something. Like, and I'm still walk around, no issues. I am not feeling, like some people have spots, eye spots and all that, and they, in their vision, blurry vision, all that stuff. I wasn't having that. The headaches, I wasn't having that. But I'm just going. I'm just going by my little day with this 200 something over 100 blood pressure number, way off the rockers, way off the charts. Same thing with this diabetes, way off the chart at 15.1. Didn't even know it. Barely had any kind of symptoms at all. Didn't know I had symptoms until after I found I had diabetes. And the only symptom I remember was the wanting to drink a lot of water. And that only lasted for a little bit, a few days, and that was it. So it's different for me. I need an individualized plan. I need somebody that can work with me, think outside of the box. I remember going to a weight loss specialist. She like, honey, I can't, the things that we normally have you do, it doesn't fit you. So you need to talk to your healthcare providers and let them help you with this. So it's been rough. It's been rough when it comes to that. But with that being said, I'm still pressing forward. I'm still smiling. I'm still gonna live my sweet, healthy life, y'all. I'm still gonna figure it out. So if chat has helped me with how I can do this to maybe raise some of those calories, to raise some of those carbs, what have you. My protein is fine where it's supposed to be, where my nephrologist asked me to have it at. And I'm good with that. That's why I told you all on my video, the video, not the one I put out today, but the one I put out, I think it was Saturday or Sunday morning. That one, I'm doing high protein for me, for my kidneys. The 90 to 100 is high protein for me, and we have to do what we have to do for ourselves. But yeah, I'm not sure if y'all had an issue like this before with, somebody on your healthcare team. But yes, I want to share this with the Sweet Life Squad, let you all know what I'm dealing with right now, let you all know that almost 99% at this point that, yeah, I'm finding somebody else. I got to find somebody else. I pushed my appointment out to September. Yes, I did make an appointment, but out to September. And Chad has given me, or he's going to work with me to figure out even a regimen that I could follow, a sample regimen, of course, because Chad can't be my dietitian, right? And he cannot be my doctor, to be told. But you know, he can give suggestions, and then it's up to me whether I do it, right? But the things that he told me make sense to me. And so if it don't make sense, I'm not going to be able to follow it. Good. I'm going to be stuck. But these things that he does, telling me to gradually go up in these things that I need to go up in, it sounds reasonable. It sounds sustainable. It sounds attainable, right? And so, yes, I'm going to use that to help me, as a sample, to help me with, what I'm trying to do in this season that I'm in. I think okay, let me see. Trying to figure it. Hello, Anissa. How you doing, sweetheart? Yes, yes. So again, when I talk about the back to basics, part of back to basics is because the noise that I talked about is my dietitian. She got me all up in my head, all stressed out and carrying on. And that's not what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be helping me, not hurting me, not adding cortisol to my situation. I ain't gonna never go under 190. If I got issues with cortisol. Hello, Amanda. How you doing, sweetheart? Hello, Miss V. How you doing, sweetheart? Look, I want to tell my little story before I get it back in this chat. I'm so sorry if I miss anybody. Felicia says, I love my dietitian. She really helps me. But my dad, dietitian, girl, she basically wanted him to be vegan. Everybody can't do vegan. That ain't sustainable for everybody, right? I'd rather just ask ChatGPT what he should be eating. Right. Exactly. That's crazy, ain't it? So crazy. Hello, Miss Coco. How you doing, sweetheart? I hope everybody in this chat tonight is fine. Whoever's in the bushes, hope you're fine. Oh, everybody on the replay, hope you're doing well. Miss Melda says, I remember I was at work and my blood sugar was so low. Thank God they gave me something. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'm happy about that for you, Amanda. Hello, Cool J. How you doing? Yes, that information is no joke. I know, right? Oh my gosh. Tamika saying hello. Everybody's saying hello to one another. Let me see if I can go a little further down. Hopefully I don't miss anybody. I'm just trying to go through the haze. Okay, so Amanda says she loves her dietitian. Awesome, awesome. I know some people love them, love their diet. I just need to find the right one for me, for Kim J. Yes, yes. All right. Let's see. So Tamika says, I say fire her and get a new one. Oh my God. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh my goodness. I called Tamika. Oh my God. I called Felicia. I called Patrice. I'm like, y'all, what is going on? Oh my goodness. So I'm over here cracking up. So Miss Coco says muscle weighs more than fat. Fat loss for the win. I know that's right, Miss Coco. I know that's right. I'm with you on that. Stress, cortisol, malnutrition, all the stuff, right? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So I'm like, baby, I'm malnourished now? Is that what you're trying to tell me, lady? I don't understand what we if that's not what you're telling me, then what are we talking about? You have not even looked at my blood work, sweetheart. How do you know whether I'm malnutrition? I could be doing, could be overly nutritious. Who knows? Who knows what's going on with my body? You don't, because you ain't asked me nothing. You ain't asking for no blood work. You ain't trying to pull no blood work. Nothing. Shawnee said the beef is more harsh on your system. Yep, it could be. It could be. It could be. It could be. That might be true, Shawnee. You might be right, Shawnee. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Now the good thing is, most of the time when I do beef, because I know a lot of people like they eat steak and stuff like that. What I do is when it comes to beef, and that's because of my LDL, HDL, trying to make sure they're good. And then just because it's good anyway. Now, as I learned, I grew, right? I grew. So I try to get beef at anything over 90% lean beef. And then also a lot of times I do ground beef. I don't do a lot of steak. I do steak like, once every blue moon, really, like maybe twice a year. I don't eat steak like that. Or if I am eating some kind of steak, it's like shredded, right? So, and then I tenderize it and all that stuff. so it won't be so harsh on us. But yes, you're right, it can be very harsh on the system, and definitely everything, going through the liver, through the kidneys, and all that sort of stuff. So all that other stuff. So we definitely have to be careful, especially if you have kidney disease. But I don't like the ground turkey. I don't like the ground chicken. Not no, not really. Mm-mm. And so it got to be, like I said, a sustainable for me, you know. And so yeah, and I'm like, back in the day, it wasn't was it ground turkey and ground chicken and everything when our grandmothers and granddaddies were alive, or some people they're still alive, but I'm just saying, and they were just fine. They lived long lives. So part of the reason is because they weren't doing the things they do with the food now, of course. But that's why a lot of times whole foods are better too, because if you can get whole foods and if you can afford organic foods, because sometimes you can get the regular foods and they're just as good as organic. Like, say, for instance, something that has a peeling on it. There's pesticides that they put on our foods that they're growing from the ground, the whole foods, or in trees or whatever, so that they can keep the bugs away and make sure they can last through the seasons and all that, and so they can harvest it and all that stuff for the grocers, um, to put in the grocery stores and everything. But if you have a peel on your orange, for instance, then not as many pesticides is getting on it, right? Um, because you have something that's a barrier, so that it won't get on it. But if you can get organic, of course, get organic. Now I learned that from Dr. Oz, y'all. I was a Dr. Oz um connoisseur, a person that looked at Dr. Oz all the time. Yes, but I that stuck with me. That stuck with me. Uh, so Felicia, I second that. Tamika. Amanda said, "Told me to find my doctor." Amanda says, "Girl, I had beef the other day and it didn't digest well with me. I can't eat that beef stew cube steak meat. I got you. I got you. And some people like that, but honey, that steak goes fine. It digests, it goes in and it comes out fine. You know what I mean? It does fine for me. So it depends on the person. That's why we, don't supposed to compare one another. You have to, try it, see if it works. If it don't work, especially if you're used to eating beef, right? You try it. If it don't work, then you stop it. Sometimes you may go back to it later and find out it does work again. You may, but sometimes GLP-1 will, since it slow your digestion down, it may be harder to, it may be harder on your system, right? Because of the GLP-1. But then there's some people that's not on GLP-1 and they have that same issue with beef. I'm not having the issue with ground beef. So, I'm good there, I think. Shani says, just my opinion, your body isn't in a maintenance. You lost more before and then went up. So your body isn't okay with going down more. All right. All right. I see what you're, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Um, yeah, it definitely is not okay. It definitely not okay. But we're gonna trick that body some kind of way to be like, it's fine, it's okay, baby, it's okay. You can go down a little bit more. You've been there before. You can do it again. It's all right. I'm not giving up on it. In other words, but I got you. I got you, Shadi. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I value your opinion. I really do. I do. I do. Um, Hello, Miss Jerlene. How you doing, sweetheart? How are you doing? So, and I know, like, for instance, with me, when I say maintenance, and I talked to Chad about this too, just ask them, like I said, am I in soft maintenance? And the reason why I said that, and I can talk about that a little bit more with, the information that I was given. But there are times when you get a new set point. And so with that new set point, again, your body not wanting to go down further for a little bit or for a spell, but there's ways to trick that body into going down. But right now, I may just be chilling. And if it's even for the sanity purpose to say, you may be in a soft maintenance, not that you're full maintenance, but a soft maintenance, that could be. So I want to ponder that a little more, what have you. Not saying that what you're saying is incorrect, but I want you to, I'm gonna ponder that a little more, and I may come back and talk to you all about it or what have you. But for sanity purposes, it does help me a little bit, right? Um, So Shawnee says, especially if I'm on, look, so if I go to a year and still talking about I'm in a plateau, oh boy. So Shawnee says, as we lose weight and get closer to maintenance, we have to change up things. And some, it can take a while. Right, right, right. Everybody is different with how they respond to fats, calories, carbs, and protein. You're right about it. You are absolutely 100% correct, Shiny. You are absolutely 100% correct. Let's see. Shani also says, what worked before may not work now. And clearly, clearly that is the case. You might have to do something. Well, and I'm going to say this. That could be the case. That could be the case. I don't know if that is the case, but that could be. Because when I say back to the basics, part of that is, again, it could be me, because I did change over time when it came to how I ate. And it could be to the point where I can revisit something I did before, prior to all the changes, that may help me out again when it comes to the weight loss part, right? It could. I'm not sure. And that's why I have not gone back there just yet. I'm still in my research stage. Yes. All right. So, but yes, you're right. Sometimes it may not, work. But you won't know, of course, until you try to work it out or whatever. And that, again, Shani, is why I decided to go and get with a dietitian to help me. I don't really want to go backwards because I do want to eat carbs. I do enjoy carbs. But again, back then I wasn't eating a lot of carbs because of the fact that I was trying to get that A1C down from that dangerously high number. Now, I talked to my endocrinologist in June, and I mentioned right before I got left out of the office, I wish I could do keto again. Now, back then when I did it, long time ago, it was a long time ago when I did it, way before GLP-1, it wasn't sustainable. But when I think about what I did when I first started my journey, and even now, I'm like, why would you want me to go up to 200 calories or even 176 to 200 calories? Carbs, I'm sorry, carbs, when I'm a person that's okay not eating a lot of carbs. I just looked it up today about, should I go up to a high carb regimen? Even with having, some low blood sugars at some point, which I'm not having that as much anymore. Like I'm way more stable, in my blood sugars now than what I was back then. But do I need to go to a high? Because I'm still trying to figure out where's she coming from, because she never answered me. She never like clearly clarified that. My dietitian didn't. So I'm like, I need to understand before I say, okay, I'm gonna go on this quest and do it. And I'm not just gonna do it because you told me to do it. You need to explain to me and make sure I understand, and then help me with it if I'm having the issue of understanding. Not just give me more textbook. Like, literally help me with it. Even if we have to go and talk about regimens and here's the foods that I eat, or tell me, hey, what foods do you like? And I'm going to try to, work something in. And then let's talk about some other foods that will better help you attain this goal that I'm talking about and get you up to that time. I mean, that amount, right? That's what I'm talking about. But if she can't do that, then she's not the one for me, So that's how I feel about her, Miss Dietitian. All right. So she said you might have to do something not so sustainable to get to a weight and want to be at. I'm sorry, that I want to be at, and then adjust after. I also know that it's very stressful. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you for that, Shiny. Thank you for that, Shiny. Shiny says trying to get those last pounds off stresses us and can cause those cortisol levels to raise, and that will cause a delay as well. You're right about it. I talk about that a lot. Cortisol definitely can raise my efforts in getting the weight down. And like I said, the main thing is better health, y'all. Please don't get it twisted. My health is most important, but part of health is losing the weight, because the weight that I have on me now can still hinder some things, when it comes to my health. So yes, I'm not trying to be a very skinny person. I'm not trying to be in the very petite club myself. I know some people are, and that's fine. That's awesome for them. I, root them on wholeheartedly. For me, I do want to be thick fine. So I don't want to go too far down in weight, but I do want to go, at least back to where I was, or maybe to 165. But most importantly, I know when I was down to the 177, my markers look really good. My health markers, not saying they look horrible now, but I'm just saying they look good, what have you. And I know it'll just make them look a little bit better, So, whole, just as a whole. So yes, needing to make sure I get my macros and my micronutrients in, making sure I get that. So Amanda says, listening to you reminded me when I was listening to all of them doctors telling me to increase this and that. And my weight kept going up, and I'm like, I'm doing everything they tell me. Come to find out, my surgeon and my dietitian told me your carbs and calories is way too high. There is no way way that she could do that. And she said, I followed their plan and lost the weight. Exactly. So, wait a minute, hold on, I done lost something. Did I miss and do? Oh God, did I had Lily's comment by mistake? Okay, I don't like the way they got this thing sitting up here like this. I hope I ain't had her comment. Let me find out. Let me see. Hold on, y'all. Okay, good. Oh Lord, I thought I hid your comment, Lily. I don't know why they got these little buttons right here. You can just miss and hit the buttons, and it flipped my comment section, and I was like, did I hide a comment? All right, so Lily says, hello, Lily, if I haven't said hey to you already. I'm so sorry you felt that way with your dietitian. Sometimes these doctors dismiss you, and you have to advocate for yourself. On the other hand, I realize ChatGPT can tell you everything you want to hear. Now, Lily, you right about that too. So when I talk to Chat, I am pretty open-minded with it. We fuss sometimes too. We fuss sometimes too. But what I do, I try to make sure I'm like a factual person. I don't want to just hear I don't want you to just sugarcoat it for me. I don't. I do need somebody to make sure I understand what needs to be done. But I don't want it to be. It don't have to be sugarcoated, or you like, okay, I'm just gonna tell you this just to make you feel good. No, that's not what I want. And I don't need it. Even if I want it, I don't need it, right? But like I said, the way he broke it down to me on how I can attain this goal that she was talking about, that's what I'm talking about. He was like, okay, I can give you something every week and gradually increase, your numbers, your macros, so that you can, so it can be a little bit attainable for you. And I'm going to explain to you what she's talking about, or what could help you, and things of that nature. So I'm very detailed with him. He very detailed with me, when it comes to ChatGPT. I'm talking about, when it comes to that. So he's been, for the most part, on the money, for the most part. So yes, but thank you for that comment, Lily, because you're so right, and I'm happy you said it, because it's true. It can tell you what you want to hear. You're right about it. No, for real. Amanda says, now my protein is 60 to 80. I can go a tad higher than that. Carbs is 80 to 90. Okay. And also, y'all, Amanda has had a surgery, bariatric surgery too. So she has, two things that could kind of hinder her from eating, say, such a high carb, like maybe the 200, to 239 carbs or whatever. That's a lot for her. So yes, thank you for sharing your experience, Amanda. I greatly appreciate it. All right. So Amanda also said there you go. My VSG surgeon and dietitian came together and created me a plan. I said, thank God. Yes. That right there. That right there. Awesome, Amanda. Felicia says, that's wonderful. They came together for you, Amanda Tucker. Right, exactly. Yeah. It's just about finding the right person, the right part of your team that can help you. And dietitians normally help with that. Weight loss doctors can help as well. But like I told you, I saw that weight loss doctor 2 times. And because she was like, if you want to lose a little bit more weight, normally what we do is we'll have our schedule is to be very low in carbs, like 50 grams of carbs per day. And our protein is, if you can't do the carbs because you are having low blood sugar, you can't go down that far, then our next step is to tell you to go up in your protein. And I'm like, but remember, I got kidney disease. And she was like, you're right about it. So my case, the things that they would do, it just wasn't, she probably felt like it wasn't worth her time. She didn't want to do it, So she just was like, baby, don't come. You don't need to come back here because you're going to be wasting your money, because this is the things that we do in this clinic, what have you. And so at first I was like, well, oh, that's kind of cold. But then I was like, I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I respect that because why give her my money? She not finna, do no extra. And she like, you got a whole healthcare team. What they doing, sweetheart? You paying them every how many months or whatever. So they should be able to help you. And she's right about it. So yeah. All right. So Amanda says they told me I needed a 1,700 to 2K calorie. Ain't no way as a VSG girl can I get all of that. Then they told me my carb should be 200. See, too much. Also, y'all, I have been looking up some stuff and find out that we looking at. So she was kind of comparable to the TDEE calculator when she gave me the information. But when I looked at TDEE and I talked to her about the TDEE calculator, but she was on the higher end when it came to carbs. I'm like, why would you put me on a high carb diet when I'm a diabetic? Like, why would you do that? So I'm looking at and not give me explanation for it, not make it make sense. So again, I try to be open-minded with it, even though it might hit me a certain way, but I try to be open-minded with it. That's why I keep going to her, trying to understand it. I just want to understand it, not trying to be difficult or anything, but just trying to understand, why. And if it's a good enough reason and it's something I can understand, I will. And like you said, you gradually go up to it, then I'm more susceptible to doing it. But when you tell me, to gradually go up and then say, but you're not doing, you're still low. You're still too low. You're still too low. Why didn't you come up? Why couldn't she have come up with a plan to say, hey, all right, I see where you're at with what you're doing. See your calories, I see your macros. I want you to be up to this, but I understand we got to work gradually, and I'm going to help you work gradually up to that. Let me give you a plan. That's what chat did. Let me give you a plan that can help you get to that. Some people are visual learners. Some people you can tell them and they like, got it. Some people want to eat a lot of carbs. I don't even desire it. So why are you going to force me to eat all these carbs? I start eating all these carbs and guess what? Now I want carbs all over the place again. Now I want things I ain't had no business eating before, and now I'm going to start wanting more of it because you trying to get me at this god awful number. To me, I'm like, I am satiated at between 13 and 1,500 calories. I'm satiated. I'm not malnourished. What are we talking about? So things like that. Ms. Linda says, you're right, Shiny. Stress do cause cortisol levels to rise and keep you in a loophole and stressed out. Yes, you're right about it. Yep. I said that earlier. Like, cortisol can stress me out, and she is stressing me out. She's stressing me out. The noise. Silence the noise. Yes. So Cool J says, it sounds like she is not the right dietitian. You should ask for one who is more familiar with weight loss while on a GLP-1. There you go, Bill. That's it right there. This is new, and most are learning from us. You right about it. That's exactly what I want to do. Next, I want to find somebody that can help me, that has been working with GLP-1 patients. And it'll be even sweeter if they are a GLP-1 patient, right? it'll be even sweeter, right? Because they'll understand where we're coming from. I'm on a high dose of medication. There's no way. There may not be a way for me to get that high every single day. It may be, but I'm just saying. And if it is, I'm cool if we want me to get there, but you gotta show me the way. Show me the way. If you gotta hold my hand, show me the way. That's all I'm asking for. Respectfully. Lily says, yes, find someone else. I will change my doctors in a heartbeat and will travel miles for a good doctor. Exactly. 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 Ms. Jolene says, yes, I would definitely find someone who communicates well as and has my best interest in mind. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. So true. Cool J says, yes, she has no idea. It's not you. Yeah, I don't know. And I forgot to ask her. Like I said, we only had a 30-minute appointment the last time. It was on the tip of my tongue, but since we were so busy talking and I was so busy in my head by that time, towards the end, I'm like, honey, I have nothing to say else. We done? All right. Talk to y'all later. Talk to you next month. Bye. I was done. I was outdone, honey. Uh, Lily says, have you ever worked with clinical psychologists? Sociologists? Is that what is it? Yeah, sociologists? Is that what I think so. I don't know, child. I have not worked with a psychologist, sociologist, nobody. Have you? Yeah, no, I have not. Cool J laughing. Let's see. All right, so Shani says many African Americans don't digest it as well as others. That could be true. I believe that. Hey, you deal with more patients than I do, right? I don't deal with patients. I'm the patient. Oh my gosh. Shani says exactly. They weren't eating the foods we are. Right. Yeah, because our parents definitely wasn't going out to eat, like that, our grandparents. But also, like I said, the foods are different nowadays than a lot of them are different than what they were back in the day. Because they have to mass produce now compared to, I guess, before, because there's a whole lot more people in the world. And so they got to, go fast, get everything done. They're finding ways to try to improve, but I don't know if it's always improving, you know, um, the food. So yeah. Miss Jolene says, I love beef, but I have difficult digesting it. I got you. Hello, Purple Bell Flower. How are you doing, sweetheart? Thanks for coming in. Hello, Jane. How are you? Sorry to be late. I got you. I got you. You good? Hope everyone is well. Thank you for that, Jane. Hope you're well tonight. Hope those chickens are doing good. Jane says, sorry, fingers aren't working. You okay? Finally eating dinner at 8:30. Jane says, going to feed and then I'll be in the chat, but hi from now. Thank you so much for coming in. Oh, sweet bee, Felicia. Shiny says, I meant to say it is okay with going down more. You just have to find what works. Right. Yes, Shiny, I get it. I believe you will find your rhythm again. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. I know it's easier said than done, but we have to really try to stop stressing. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yep. And like I said, I think the biggest thing for me, because I wasn't like crazy stressing over it, here and there, but still, like I said, I'm for the most part, I'm good. For the most part, I'm good. Here and there, like I said, I do stress, and then I will talk to my girls, and by the end of the conversation, I'm normally okay, or at least by the end of all three of the conversations, I'm okay. But yeah, I'm good though. I'm good. For the most part, I am fine, y'all. For real, for real. Ms. Jolene says, glad you're back, Tamika. Shani says, I definitely understand. I'm sorry. I had a doctor tell me today I can stop the meds, and I'm like, heck no. I want to lose more weight, honey. I know that's right. Shani says, hi, Miss Jolene and everyone I miss. Okay, she's I'm on here and on a church meeting Zoom. Oh wow. Well, thank you so much. But make sure you get that. Look, you know you got church work to do, child. Ms. Jerlene says recovering from it. The accident pain medication keeps me knocked out. We got you. We got you. And I hope you're doing better, Ms. Jerlene. I hope you're healing, better. And Amanda says, "Sorry, I'm back. You okay? Okay. So yeah, y'all, that's where I'm at with it. I am going to more than likely find somebody else that's going to help me. Hopefully, I can find somebody that does understand GLP-1 patients. That can help. Those who are on a GLP-1. And like I said, even if I need to get up to those numbers, like you know, and you're telling me I can gradually move up, then help me with that. Help me with that. Find out what I'm doing. Find out what I'm doing. Let's start there. Like, Kim J, what are you doing? Tell me the foods you like. I know a lot of nutritionists that do that. That dietitian nutritionists. Somebody was like, "Well, is that a nutritionist or a dietitian?" It's a dietitian. It's a dietitian nutritionist. So they have credentials. They have, a what you call the thing, licensed, right? Not like the nutritionists. They're higher. So yes, they can help with when it comes to diseases, what have you. um so yeah, that's where I'm at with it. So say for instance, now I'm going to my little notes here, but so when it comes to, I had chat do like a little table for me, because I told him what she was wanting me to do, and then what he suggested. So give me a table so I can kind of share with you all. But say, okay, so where I've been about 1,400 ish calories since I've been tracking. I moved up to 1,500 one week, as the next week or what have you. So this is what he had said to me. All right, so as far as calories, all right, where I've been, say about 1,400 ish. More attainable progression is 15 to 1550. Okay, so that's the gradual move upward. All right, my dietitian target is, which is the higher intake encouraged. That's what she's trying to encourage me to do, the higher intake of, which is the 1750. Okay, but the range is from 1550 to 1950. All right, so carbs, I had been at 100 to 125 grams, gradually increased towards 150 to 165. So each week he gave me some kind of, gradual movement upward, okay, to get to that 176. Okay. So she just said 176 to 200. That's all she gave me. That's it. Period. Period. Point blank. All right. Fats. I was varying. Okay. But the more attainable progression would be anywhere between 65 and 75, at least right now. And that's what I want to do. I want to stay around that, amount. Now, I'm not saying I'll never go down to like 50 something, because I think a couple of times I was at 50 something that, a particular day. But I can't say that's going to be every day. Again, even if I like, which I eat healthy fats, if I eat an avocado, half an avocado, and I eat, some ground beef, how we have that the potato bowl or ground beef bowl or whatever you call it. We have that. So you got your avocado, you got your ground beef in there, what have you. And I eat some nuts. I love having apple and pecans, right? So I do that. Okay, so pecans got a lot of fat in it. I like bacon in the morning, so I eat some bacon. I'm talking about, that's a lot of fat. That's a lot of fat. If I decide to drink, Fairlife milk, because I like whole milk, that's a good little bit of fat. So pairing 3 or 4 of those things together, we're up, in fats at this point. So that's what I'm talking about. Now, when it comes to it, again, if you're a keto person, if you've ever been on keto or heard about keto, know somebody that was on keto, if you're eating low carbs, you can eat higher fats. That helps you, lose weight. So again, my doctor told me I could do keto. My endocrinologist, he said I have a lot of people that are diabetic that do ketosis, diet. So I decided not to do it yet, I'm not sure. I may do it at some point, but I have not done it yet because I'm still being cautious about it, what have you. But it's good to know that, that might be something I can try. Now if I do try that, then of course I will definitely use a CGM. I will start back using that because I want to make sure, I'm not going too far down. What I also would do is I'm not going to go to the point where I am, because that's like you. So the normal ketogenic diet is 20 grams, 20 net carbs per day, but you can go over in your total carbs. Okay. Um, but when it comes down to, if you read up on, being keto or whatever, or being in keto, a ketogenic diet or whatever, or being in ketosis, I should say, being in ketosis, it can be 50 carbs downward, So with that being said, I may be able to go back to 50. I don't see myself going back to 20 net carbs at all, but I may be able to go back to 50 to finish losing this weight and then gradually go back up. I'm not sure yet. I'm still working on a plan, of what I'm going to do. But, it is a thought. Now that I've talked to my endocrinologist about it, it is a thought. Okay. But I would do that CGM, continuous glucose monitor, to make sure it's monitor my sugars, because the Libre monitors your sugars every minute, your glucose every minute. And so it will let me know if I need to up those carbs, right? Because I've had a history of low, you know, low blood sugars, right? So with me going down to that 5 point, well, now I'm, at a 5.4, but with me going down that far, back in the normal range, then that means my as well as not having as many low blood sugars anymore, my blood sugars are more stabilized. So, I may be able to, tweak a little bit here and there. Because it sounds like, it's working, the system is working a little bit much better than it was before. So, okay, when it comes to fats, like I said, it varies. That's where I have been. But somewhere between 6 and 65 is more attainable progression. And then at some point, maybe get to that 52. Okay, find a way to do that. Go downward to 52, where my dietitian has suggested. All right, then the protein, it varies. But it normally stays between 90 and maybe 110. Every now and again I may go up to like 120, but for the most part between 90 and 110, which is what my doctor said is okay to do, between 90 and 100. Adequate individualized guidelines is what, my attainable progression is. And then for me to follow, my dietitian wants me to follow, the target 72 to 96 or something like that. So that's that. The approach, lower intake, resistant to tracking. I didn't want to track. I'm actually learning how to track and be okay with tracking. I feel much better because I had to change my mindset, y'all. Had to change my mindset to say, okay, you know what? It's okay to track. And I don't have to do it all forever. I don't. I knew it was a good tool to use, but why not use that tool? I'm paying for my net diary. Why not use it? So I had been suggested by my girls to use the tracker. Try to see if that'll work. That may help you because you'll know what you're eating and what you're not eating, where your calories are, where your macros are, your carbs are, all that good stuff, right? So I was kicking. I didn't want to do it. But when I decided to do the 21-day consistency challenge a couple months back, I decided to do it. I did it for like 3 to 4 days a week, doing those 21 days. And I went right back to not doing it, right? But when I talked to, Tamika, Felicia, Patrice, about it, and they were like, just try it and see if it works. You don't have to do it forever. Then I heard the same thing right before I started my, dealing with my dietitian or talking to her or whatever. The first appointment, I started tracking a little bit. And I'm like, okay. Then when I talked to my dietitian, she said the same thing. I'm like, okay, well, there you go. That was confirmation. More and more and more. So let's get it done. Don't let it be a hate relationship. You don't have to love it, but you don't have to hate it either. It's your choice how you think about it. How are you, thinking about this thing? Are you thinking glass half full, or are you thinking glass half empty? What are you thinking? Change this thinking. Get the tracking, girl. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. Even if you don't do it every day, it's gonna be okay. At least do them 4 days. So that was that. And I've been enjoying it. I've been okay, you know, with it. Yes. So I'm happy about that now. I'm happy about that. That I changed the mindset. And that's what we talk about all the time. We have to change our mindset. That's the biggest thing. If we can change our mindset, about a thing, then that helps us do better. Just by changing the mind. Just how we look at things. So I often say, if we change the way we look at things, the things we look at will change. The way we look at things will change. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. If we change the way we look at things, the way we look at things will change. So when I stop thinking of it as a love-hate relationship, and I start thinking of it as a tool, just like I think of Manjaro as a tool, right? Just like I think of that scale as a tool. Mm-hmm. I need to think of this tracker as a tool too. And it's okay. It may be a little bit more time consuming, but it's okay, right? Use it, get your data, and learn from it and tweak and move forward. That might be something that can help me out. Why not use it? So that's how I, now think, and I'm enjoying it. All right. So follow her. So, my dietitian wanted me to follow her prescribed target. And so then the only other thing is main concern. So I didn't have I mean, my concern was weight loss, of course. But the next, the what is it called? The more attainable progression would be sustainable, realistic glucose award progression. Okay. That's what I would love. Right. And then the dietitian's target was avoid inadequate intake and malnutrition risk. Again, she didn't say I was malnourished. She said, I didn't say you was malnourished, but I just want to make sure that you're not. So be it. So be it. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Um, I'm gonna I'm right now what I'm doing is 1500 to 1550 calories, right? That's where I'm at with it. And my carbs 100 to 125 grams. Okay, I'm not going straight to the 176 to 200. I'm not doing that. So what may happen is if I can do the 120 to 125, maybe I can get to 130 to 140 to 150, and it's as the week progresses, right? And then maybe get to at least 165. I'm good with 165. I think that's good enough to stop, right? When it comes to being malnourished, I need macros and I need micros, right? And I definitely need carbs. I looked it up. Can I be malnourished if I'm only eating, say, 14 to 1500 calories? That's not the only indication of saying you're malnourished. As long as you're getting your, the proper macros in and micros, as long as you're eating, the protein, the fat, the carbs, enough fiber, making sure that you're getting your vitamins and your minerals in, making sure you get your veggies, and things of that nature, you more than likely won't be malnourished, right? You more than likely will not be malnourished. So, with food and supplements, right? So, with that being said, I'm not worried about no malnourished. I need to kick that out my head because that's not me. All right. And then fats, you would prefer more flexibility, roughly between 60 and 70s, rather than feeling locked into a 52 gram. If that works with your overall calories, protein needs, labs, cardiovascular considerations, and glucose management, then I should be fine at the 60, 70s grams of fat per day. Okay. And then, of course, we're going to keep that protein where my nephrologist told me to do it. I'm satiated with the 90 to 100 protein, so we're good with that. And then, so that's that. Okay, so this is not prescribing myself 165 carbs and 70 grams of fat. This is me saying, can I, okay, or can we, me and my dietitian, whoever it's going to be, build something that's going to be adequate nutrition for me, individualized plan, me individually, okay, um, in increments, gradually going up, okay, so that it can be sustainable for me. And then also the next dietitian, what I may need to do, or if I for some reason do, keep this one, give her another chance. I like giving people chances. But if I do, then we need to talk. You need to look at the lab work so that you can make sure you're addressing me like you should, right? Don't talk about things that I'm not having an issue with. Because then you got me thinking, oh my God, am I malnourished? Oh my goodness, I hope I'm not malnourished. Am I I don't know. And I go, you know, start going, on a whirlwind or whatever. So Shani says, I'm obsessed with tracking. I need an intervention. Don't judge me. Hey, I ain't gonna judge you if you ain't gonna judge me, right? Oh, thank you, Miss Jerlene. Thank you so much for the coin. Hold on, let me go. Wait a minute. Did my thing go too far down? Oh Lord. Yes, it went down. See, I told you. I don't know why they got these little things. It says new comments and it pushed me all the way down to the end. Hold on, y'all. Oh my goodness. I don't even know where I was back then. Okay, I remember that. I remember that. Yep, okay. Yep, I remember that. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's see, anyone miss? Okay. Remember that. Hello, I didn't know Terry came in. Hello, Terry. How you doing, sweetheart? Okay, I remember where I was now. Yep. I was at. All right, Lily says an exercise. Okay. Psychologist is a sociologist. Am I saying right? Sociologist is an specialist who work with your doctor. They work with people with chronic health conditions such as, yeah, nope, never worked with it. Never, none of my doctors have told me to go to them. No, ma'am. But I'll write it down. Girl, why I can't say that? What am I messing up that word? Jesus, I think I'm messing up that word. This is one of my fears, y'all. Me messing up words, Jesus. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I might be saying it wrong. I got to say that word right. Let me see. I don't know why that word is stumping me today. Hold up. Wait a minute. Physiologist. Yeah, physiologist. Okay. I'm saying that thing real wrong. I'm like, I'm not saying it right. I knew I wasn't saying it right, but I'm like, I can't think of what it is in my head. Thank you, Lily, for that. I wrote it down, though. I wrote it down. Thank you. I will talk to somebody about it and see. Amanda says, my VSG surgeon and my dietitian came together and created me a plan versus me doing whatever somebody else was telling me. Exactly, Amanda. I got you on that. And that's exactly what, we want to make sure we, have individualized plans. Like we look at each other, we hear each other, that can be some noise too sometimes because, especially we see somebody that's winning and we like, oh yeah, let me kind of adopt some of the stuff they're doing. Sometimes it's okay, but you need to talk to your dietitian first, right? You need to talk to your dietitian and see if it's okay to do it. So I know, like I said, when I was talking about the fiber earlier, and I wanted to go up on, I wondered if I need to go up on fiber. I talked to my dietitian at that point, and that dietitian, I was like, should I go up? They said they was eating 45 grams of fiber a day. I'm like, I had told her, she was like, that's not in our books, in our records nowhere. So, 45 grams of fiber a day. Not saying that, a person can't do it, but that's not, what we recommend. But you can do, let's start at 35 grams of fiber from the normal recommended 25, since you are on a GLP-1 and you're having constipation, or what have you. So when she told me that, I'm like, okay, cool. And so that has helped me tremendously to do 35 grams, of fiber a day. So I understand that. Like if I would have just went straight to 45, because she said when you can overdo it too, right? So yes, more fiber will help you, poo. But if you get too much, you're gonna be on that toilet for a long time. It's gonna be splat, 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 splat. Let me stop. Oh my gosh. OMG. And you don't want that either, right? You don't want the poo to be liquidy. Um, so Amanda says my calorie is now 1,000. I sometimes get that and sometimes I don't. Yes. And I've talked to somebody else too about it. And she was like, listen, just like Dr. Now says, a lot of us can stand to miss a few meals. It ain't gonna hurt. It ain't gonna hurt. Not at all, right? It's not gonna hurt, not at all. I said, baby, listen. If Jesus did 40 days and 40 nights without eating, and there's other people that did it, it's just like I'm not trying to do no 40 days and 40 nights, but I'm just saying, like, it we can stand not eating, some of these calories that we're talking about. Another thing I was gonna tell y'all earlier, when I started looking up some stuff and I found out, I heard somebody talk about the TDE calculator and is it meant for short girls or guys? And the person was talking. It was a YouTube. I saw it on YouTube. The lady, and she was like, she was trying to eat 17 something, and she's the same height as me. And she said when she was doing that, she had lost some weight, but then when she started trying to do that, up in that calories and them 1,700 that TDE was saying, she could not lose no weight. She could not lose weight. And she said she started thinking and researching, I guess, or whatever about it. And she went back down. She had to do 12. When she went to 1,200 something calories, that's when she started losing her weight again. And she reached her goal, or wherever she, decided to, be. And she's been keeping it off. So she's like, TDE is not even built for short girlies. Even though I can put in my height, it's not even built for short girlies. So I'm not saying, she knows everything, but I'm just saying that was something to think about, And I was looking up, through Gemini and was, of course they looked through all the different search engine to try to figure out, what to come back to us with. Chat does the same thing if you ask it to, but, it's still just a tool. It's not 100%. Just like none of this stuff. The scale is not 100%. Body recomp scale is not 100%. None of this stuff is 100%. Tracking is not 100% accurate or what have you. So with that being said, it's just it just helps you with trending numbers, right? So that's what we have to keep in our mind. And I'm looking up something, child. So standard TDE calculators work for short women mathematically, but they often fail practically. They use height and weight to find your baseline, but they break down when generic advice like a flat 500 calorie cut suggests dangerously low intake, or when activity multipliers miscalculate a smaller body's actual burn. There you go. So why standard TDEE calculators struggle for petites? And y'all, I remember the first time somebody called me petite. I was like, oh, look at, so again, I don't mind being called petite, but I want to be thick fine. I still want to be thick fine. I want to be thick in all the right places. Okay. I don't want to be skinny. I'm not chasing skinny. All right. So, again, I had told y'all before, if I can get to the body recomp like I want to before I get to the actual 165 goal, I'm going to be okay there. Now, later on in life, I may say I want to lose some more. I don't know. But I'm saying as of today, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. Hey, like Shani says, a girl has the right to change her mind. So yes. Um, so it says why standard TDE calculator struggle for petites. The math is tiny. Short frames and less muscle mass mean a naturally low basal metabolic rate (BMR), sometimes dropping maintenance down to 1,400 to 1,600 calories. Okay. The 500 calorie trap. This is the second reason. Subtracting 500 calories from a 1,500 calorie maintenance levels drops you to 1,000 calories, which is hard to stick to and lacks proper nutrition. And we're not talking about VSG patients. We're not talking about them, right? But even with them, what they normally, what doctors do tell people that have had bariatric surgeries, they tell them to take multivitamins, and their multivitamins are pretty high in numbers, right? Percentages, so that they can make sure they're getting their nutrients in from the supplement also. So they're doing nutrition and supplement. Okay. So that's another reason. All right. Activity overestimation. It's a third reason. Selecting moderately active on a generic site assumes a specific calorie burn that overestimates a smaller body's movement. Okay. So how to fix the numbers? Use a percentage deficit. Instead of subtracting a flat 500 calories, calculate a gentle 10% to 20% reduction from your estimated maintenance. Okay, that's something to think about. 2, prioritize protein, eating higher protein, aiming for closer to 100 if lifting. I do lift, so 100 is fine, right? Even with kidney disease, how about that? It helps preserve or build muscle, which safely bumps up your resting burn over time. And then the third reason to help you fix it, I mean, not reason, but the third way to help you fix it is try adaptive track, try adapt, try adapt. I can't even get it out. Adaptive. Try adaptive trackers. Use apps like Micro Factor or the NIH Body Weight Planner, which dynamically learn your real metabolism rather than guessing via a static formula. So that is what Gemini states from the overview of different websites. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. So with that being said, more research will be done. And I don't mind research, and I like research. I just love that, especially when it comes to, things that I'm very interested in. So I research, and not too much, not too much. I ain't gonna give myself too much, but I'm gonna do what I need to do so that I will be, able to figure something out. I'm not gonna start nothing too big right now because the end of the month is my anniversary. Yes, the 29th of August. And so me and my husband, me and my husband, we're going to have a wonderful time together. I'm not going to be thinking about no GLP-1. I'm not going to be thinking about no weight loss. I am going to try to eat right, of course, but I am going to splurge a little bit. I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to enjoy my sweet, healthy life. Okay. Yes, yes. And so Amanda says, after the second week, I couldn't do it. It was making me low in sugar, and it was a lot. So she's talking about, did that thing do it again? She tried to do ketosis for 2 weeks. Yeah, I got you. When I was doing ketosis, honey, this was way before I, found out I had diabetes. It was years and years ago. It was long time ago. After that second week, I couldn't do it. Made your sugars go too low. I got you on that. That's another reason why I didn't want to do it, because like I said, I'm like, I don't need to experience any more low blood sugar. So that's why I'm kind of skeptical about doing it that low. Doing 20 grams of carbs, net carbs. That's a lot. That's too low. So Amanda says, I was lightheaded. My sugar was plunging. It was like I couldn't function. I got you, Amanda. So Mrs. V says, I did the keto diet years ago, and I quickly got off of it because it got my cholesterol out of whack. That's something to think about too. Your cholesterol, right? because it's a high fat diet. So we definitely have to be careful, on any diet when it comes to the saturated fats, right? We have to be careful. I was not checking out just the total fats. I wasn't caring so much about total fats, but I know I had to watch my saturated fats to make sure, because my doctor wants my LDL, and it's not just my doctor, but my endocrinologist, but on blood tests, when you read it up on it, when it comes to your LDL, when they check your lipids and everything, they it says a little insert that says, I know at least Quest does, and I think one of my other sometimes my labs go to another local lab person or place, I'm sorry. And so it says on there, if you have diabetes, and you have some kind of heart condition, then I can't remember. I think it's I forgot the acronym, but a heart condition, then you definitely want your LDL levels to be under 70. Now, if you don't have those things, then you want your LDL to be under 100. That's your bad cholesterol. You want that to be under 100. But if you are diabetic type 2, definitely, or if you have heart issues, then you want to make sure they're under 70. And the reason why is because you want to make sure you lessen your risk of having heart attacks and strokes. And we don't have time for neither one of those, honey. So if we can do everything that we can do to prevent it, then that's why we want to go down that far. Now, last check, I was at 101 with my LDL. At one point, it was like 150 something. So it has gone down tremendously. Me, taking my CoQ10 and my fatty fish oil, the omega-3. The omega-3 is probably doing the most, but helping the most. But yes, that it got it down from the 150s to the 100. It did creep back up to 101. So I actually started taking a cholesterol pill because it had been like that, for a while, and I wanted to go down to 70. So I was close to the regular normal range, but I wanted to get it down to 70. Like I told you, I want my levels to be in the mid range of that normal, the normal range, okay, that they give us. And every laboratory is a little different with their numbers, with the normal range, what they consider normal range. Not too far from each other, but they are sometimes, I've noticed. But yes, I need to be under 70. So I'm trying to get there with my medicine. I don't take a statin, though. I told him I'm not taking a statin. I'm not. So he put me on something else. Also, this is unrelated, but I know some people were talking about creatinine, looking at creatinine levels and thinking creatine, and that's not the same. Like, not the same at all. So yeah, we can talk about that if we need to at one point. That's unrelated, but since I was talking about blood work. Yeah, I hear people talking about they checking their creatinine levels, but kind of associated with creatine, and it's like, no, I got nothing to do with nothing. It's not. It's not. Oh my god. So I'm just going to read you two real quick. Creatine is a natural energy source that fuels your muscles, while creatinine is the waste product left behind when creatine breaks down. So taking creatine, that is creatine, okay, supplements can raise your blood creatinine levels slightly, which doctors check during lab work to measure kidney health. So they look at my creatinine, which is creatinine, that they use that as one of the markers to see how my kidneys are functioning, properly, right? And they use the EGFR as well. But that's the two of the ones they use. But when it comes to creatine, that's a little different. Now, it can affect your creatinine levels, but it's not the same. It's not the same. So, since I've heard a lot of people talk about it, I just said, let me talk to my Sweet Life Squad about it. We can get into it more, I guess, if you want to. Amanda says my Dexcom was going off so many times when these them weeks, and I said, "Dear God, no." Mine was going off with me in this in 2024, and I was like, "Oh no, 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 no!" So I stopped using it. I don't use a CGM anymore. I just start pricking my finger again because I'm like, I don't have to check my blood sugars as much anymore. So I'm going to just go back to pricking the finger. Um, since I wasn't on that insulin, I had to do it 3 times a day and all that. 4 times a day, I don't have to do that no more. So, Amanda says the benefit though, you will lose weight. I lost 10 pounds right in the first week. Exactly. I lost 9 pounds the first time I did it. Shani says I tried keto and couldn't do it either. Ms. V, due to cholesterol. Yeah. So you got to be careful with the saturated fats. Definitely. And like I said, not only did I take that omega-3 CoQ10 combination supplement, but I also watch my saturated fats. I start watching them like a hawk, making sure, they're less, that instead of just eating whatever, fatty foods, I was lowering my saturated fats per day when it comes to food. And that helped me get back down from 155 LDL to 100. And then it pulled my HDL up, in the normal range to over 50. So that was good because it was down, to like 40 something at one point. So yes. And then now I'm using this cholesterol medicine to try to get me under 70. All right. So Miss V says my dietitian recommended that I track my food with my Fitness Pal. Yep, that's a good plan. Good tracker. I'm sorry, good tool. My fitness plan is really good. Yes. Ms. Jolene says following Patrice has me reconsidering tracking again. Awesome, 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 awesome. Yes, that's my girl. Ms. Jolene says, I told you, thank you already, Ms. Jolene, for the 10 jewels. I greatly appreciate it. Gold coins. Yes. I wish it showed it pretty on this side because I know when I'm on the YouTube side, it looks so nice when they come up. You can see all that stuff. You don't see it through StreamYard like that. Shani says, I'm obsessed with tracking. I read that too. All right. Ms. V says, Shani, when my lab work came back and all my cholesterol levels was in the red, luckily, I didn't have a stroke or a heart attack. Exactly. Yes, Ms. V, I'm happy about that. I'm happy you did not. And so I'm hoping that everything, is back to normal now for you when it comes to your LDL and HDL and the total cholesterol and all the, what is it? It's several of them, that we have to look at. So Ms. Amanda says, Shiny, LOL, pray for your little sis, me, about teaching. I still got to track. Or she says about tracking, she meant. I still have to track. Yes. Yes. She want to get, I got you, Amanda. Yep, I read it. Okay, so yes, she want to learn how to track. Like I said, Amanda, what I did, and I'm telling you, I was kicking and screaming about tracking. And I just thought of it differently. Like I said, we think about the Manjaro, the Zepbound, the Wegovy, the Ozempic, whatever other GLPs that people use. We think about that. Even if you're on just a regular weight loss journey or a better health journey, we think about what tools we're using and we're happily using those tools, right? Even though they may have some side effects to it, even though there's side effects, right? For the VSG surgery, there were side effects to it, but you chose, you opened your mind to it and you did it. You did it. And so the same thing with this tracking, if we open our mind a little bit to it, and I'm just a witness for it, but when I opened my mind to the tracking, it helped me out a whole lot. Again, I'm not at 7 days yet. I know some people do 7 days. Shoot, my bestie, Miss Felicia Marie B, honey, I'm talking about she has 600 something days of tracking. Baby, listen. And I tease all the time when I'm like, so what gets me, because I'm so factual. So what gets me is when I say I've, tried to track something, and then what if I don't eat it all? And it's like say spaghetti. And I'm like, I haven't eaten all the things that I've tracked. Now, how do I untrack it? That's going to bother me too. How do I untrack it? Like, I don't know how to do that, because Even if I take all the little onions and the bell peppers out, even if I try to get as much of the meat out, because I don't put it as meat, this amount, and because I put it on a food scale, noodles this amount, sauce this amount, onions this amount, bell peppers this amount, oils if I use it this amount, whatever I put on there, right? Individually. Now I'm trying to take that stuff out, but it's all together now. How can you take out the stuff that you have not eaten, right? Yeah. Help me understand that, trackers. That's what I would say to her. Help me understand that. So Tamika, I said that to Tamika. I talked to Patrice about it. I'm like, y'all, what? How do I do it? I don't know. And it's making me bonkers. It's making me go bonkers. So anyway, I just teased them about it, but I know tracking is best for me right now. So I just decided to go ahead on this plunge. Take the plunge. Take the plunge. I'm out to take the plunge, and be okay with it. Shani says, Miss V, thank God you didn't. Right. She said, yes, ma'am, Miss Shani. Cool J says, Shani and Miss V, I love tracking too, honey. My Fitness Pal is where it's at, honey. That's where it's at. I know that's right. Miss V said, Cool J. She clapping for her. Yes. Shani says, Amanda, girl, I got you, honey. I got you. Yes. Shani says, Cool J, I use. Let me see. Oh my God, I'm trying to remember how to say this word. It's not appy diet. That's not how you say that. Let me see. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna say that word. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna find it. I recommended it to Patrice, and she loves it so far. I don't know about love. Patrice said she don't love it, but she ain't hating it either. We talked about it yesterday. Let me see, but she's getting used to it. She is getting used to it, y'all. She is getting used to it, and I'm happy for her. Hold on, let me see, because I pulled up TikTok and found a commercial, one of their commercials. Where's Patrice's name? I don't know why that word's so weird. I don't know. Let me see. Oh my God, they not gonna let me go on it. Y'all get me. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. Okay, let me see what I was pulling up. Oh my goodness. TikTok just can't. Let me take this junk off. Let me see if I can take it off. Cause I ain't asked for it to get put on that. I don't like when these let me take it off of my thing because I don't want that thing on my I took TikTok off my phone a long time ago, and for some reason they decided to put it back on today or yesterday. Now they asked me to sign back in and all sorts of stuff. No, I just want to watch. I don't even be on here. Oh, they finna make me go on now. Dang it. Oh, let me say this. Let me see. Not now.
And get personalized health reports. Tap to.
Oh crap. I think I done messed up. Hold on, let me do it one more time, y'all. I'm sorry. Nope. Let me go back to it. Okay. Girl, why they trying to make me do? They like, nah, you gonna pull this up.
And get personalized health reports. Tap to try it out, see what to do, and how to be better. A pediat is not just a calorie counter and fitness.
It's called a pediat. That's how you say that name. A pediat. Yeah. All right. For those who may be wondering how to say it, a pediat. That sounds different. Like that's a lot. That's why Patrice can't remember how to say it. A pediat, really? You got to say that 100 times to remember it. So, so Jolene says, Miss Jolene, excuse me. Thank you, Cool J, for turning Patrice on to this tracker, and it has me interested. I think Shani was saying she had told her about it. Miss Jerlene, not Cool J. Cool J says, "Oh wow, Shani, I've never heard of a pediatrician. A pediatrician. A pediatrician. That's it. Okay, thanks. I will check it out." Ms. Jolene says fasting definitely has worked for me in the past. It did for me too. It did for me too. I used to do 16-8, 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating, that window. Okay, 8 hour window. When I first started, that's not only did I do, and I'll never talk about that, but not only did I do, the very low carb diet, but I also did intermittent fasting. And that helped me out a lot. So thank you for saying that, Miss Jerlene, because I forgot to say that. Cool J says, she's laughing. She says, yes, that was how I felt when I first started. I couldn't stand to miss a couple of meals. Right, right. Dr. Now know what he talk about, child. We over here talking about we can't, child, we got to get these amount of calories in, whatever. Some of us might need to fast some, that definitely helps, help with autophagy, depending on how many, hours you fast and things like that. I mean, it's a lot of good benefits to fasting. Not just when you're in the church. All right. Hello, G's. How you doing, sweetheart? Thanks for coming in. Amanda said, happy anniversary. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She said, you enjoy that time. I surely will. I surely will, honey. Be with my boot up. Miss Jolene says, hey, G's, glad you came in, sweetheart. Greet. Hello, Grant. How are you, sweetheart? Thank you guys for coming in. I greatly appreciate you. I hope you all are doing well. You, Angie, Grant, Angie's G Money. Shani says that creatinine level should be checked if you are taking creatine. Now that's true. I do believe that, Shani. Check your creatinine, but I'm saying it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, and it sounds like some people was getting confused out here in these streets. All right, so Jolene says, Shani, sorry, I want to credit you properly for it. Yep. We got you. We got you. Thank you so much. Miss Jolene, so sweet, so sweet. Yes, she is. All right, thank you, Grant, for the jewels. I thank you for the silver stars. I thank you for that. Miss Shani says, no worries, Miss Jolene. No worries, sweetie. All right. Shani says, LOL, you just have to adjust as best you can. Right. The issue is you are you right. I told y'all that I'm a perfectionist. I'm trying not to be that way, right? I'm trying not to. I'm doing better with certain things, but yeah, certain things I still have that issue. Faithful GLP-1 Journey. Yes, y'all see Grant's new name, Faithful GLP-1 Journey. Yes. He took the grant off. Wow. I think that's when you give yourself grace on tracking to that much detail. You're right. You're right. But I just like bothering them. I be bothering them. I be bothering them because they got me on. You need to track, girl. Just go on track. Just track, him. It's okay. Just track. So I be teasing them about it. It's Imelda Tucker says, my PCP want me to track since I decreased in dose in Manjaro. He wants to find my sweet spot. I know that's right. Ain't that like a sweet spot, baby? Yes, yes. Want that sweet spot, honey. With the dose. My endocrinologist was doing all this, but now I gave it over to my PCP. Now I have to track. I think is what she's saying. Let me see. Okay. And she said I went down from 15 to 10. Gotcha. Hopefully you haven't had any inflammation issues. I don't know if you ever had inflammation issues, but I had it in the past. And then I was, doing better. And then when I went down to that 5, it got crazy. It got crazy on me. So yeah. But it's a little bit better now, but I still have it. It's still prevalent in my body, inflammation is. So I'm like, oh, see how I'm talking about people becoming, I have no inflammation. It all gone away, and I'm like, well, what? Well, I can't, I want mine to go away too. I want mine to go away. And guess what my endocrinologist say? Well, I can put you up to the 12.5. I'm like, dude, chill out. Back off a little bit. Miss Jerlene says, Amanda, what dose are you on? Oh my God, that's why she said 15. She's on 10 now. Shani says it's not that serious. You do the best you can. Well, with this dietitian, is that serious, honey? You heard how she got me all the way straight when I told her 2 days. I was at 19 one day and then I went to 12 something, almost 13, and she took that whole. I'm telling you, most of our conversation was that like that's too. You can't do that. Da, da, da. Listen. I don't know. But yes, I had to give myself grace, Shiny. I learned to calm down. I'm like, okay, it is what it is. If I have to take it off, I just take it off and I'll be all right. Yes, I'm breathing. You do the best you can. I don't ever use my workout calories. So if I'm over my calories, my workout covers it. Yes. My won't be under my calories. That'd be my problem. Sometimes. It's because she want me at 1750. It's Amanda Tucker. I went from 15. I said that. All right, Kim J. Shirley laughing at me. All right, Amanda says because I never had 10 while I had the VSG, so I want to give it a try. I got you. Gotcha. I hope it's doing well for you and will go well for you. It serves you best. I skip. Oh, you skipped you skipped the 10. I got you. Amanda says I went from 2.5 to 7.5, 7.5 to 12.5, and then to 15. I got you. So she skipped her 10. I got you, honey. All right. Grant says, oh wow, you skipped a few levels, Amanda. From 5 and 10. Yeah. Felicia says, Amanda, I've never heard of anyone skipping. I'm glad it worked for you though. Yep. So now she's going back downward. Shani says Kim was going to find out how to say that word. I know that's right. Perfectionist, you. I said it to Patrice. I'm like, Patrice, I found something on TikTok to help you learn how to say the word. Because I know she'd be like, I don't know how to say that word. I'll try to figure it out. I'm like, let me help my friend. And she's still like, girl, I don't know how to say that thing. Oh my God. Amanda says, I love 16.8. This may be confirmation to do that again. Yes. Shani says, I was speaking about the track. I know, I got you. And to tell other people too, just in case. I got you. Look, I'm with you, boo. I'm with you. Ms. Shirley says, yes, Amanda, I've also done 96 hours of water only. Also, yes, I've heard that too. Yes. Shani says, I'm about to head out to my walk and to the gym. Y'all have a good night. You too, sweetheart. Thanks for coming in. 96 hours. Wow. Grant says, yeah. I don't know about no 96 hours. I've done 24 hours before, but I've never done no 96. Good night, Shiny. And with me, with my diabetes now, I probably wouldn't. I don't think I'll do that type of fast again. Now 16.8, yes. And I thought about that too. Amanda, to go try to do the 68 a couple of days a week, maybe. We shall see. So, but if I do, I definitely got to make sure I am tracking my. Another thing I had to do, y'all, I had to slow down on tracking even the checking my sugar every day. My doctor's like, you can check that sugar twice a week because you've been doing very good. Your A1C's been really good. Your blood glucose has been, coming out real good. So you don't have to track every single day anymore like you were doing. Because I was doing, every day throughout the day. And then I started doing twice a day, in the morning and in the evening to get my fasting and before I go to bed. And then I started doing just once a day, which is fasting blood sugars, checking them. And so when I ran out of my lancets and my strips, which one of them I ran out of, then I decided to and I had to also get me another glucometer. I got the glucometer, I got the lancets and the strips, but I haven't started using it yet, the new one. Yeah, because I needed a break. I'm like, give yourself a break. Just listen at your body, baby. Listen at your body. I know a lot of y'all listen at your body. I just be doing my thing, and I'm like, listen at your body, boo. Let your body talk to you. Your body's calling for. I can feel your body. No, Listen to that body, baby. So yeah, I did think about. I said I need to take a break, a little break, because I'm trying to be a perfectionist with that. I was doing the same thing with that CGM. Every time that number went up over about probably about 120, 130. Child, please. I start walking. I start doing some of everything because I'm like, this A1C going down. I'm getting off this insulin, baby. ASAP. I'm not waiting no 1 year. I'm finna get this done. So yeah. But I'll over obsess with it, or I'll, be that perfectionist I am. I am that. Yep. So I'm trying to learn how not to do that though. That's why y'all hear me. I talk about in my videos about, striving for progression and not perfection. Progression and not perfection. Yes. Um Amanda Tucker, even on here, like sometimes I have the fear, like I said, the words jumble up, start, coming together. I can't say the word right. You heard me monking up that word earlier. My goodness, I'm like, let me pull up that word and find out how to say it for real, because I'm saying it wrong. But that used to be like, ooh, are they gonna be laughing at me? Like laughing in a bad way, not a good way. I don't mind the laughing in a good way, but the bad way. But then I'm like, what am I? So what if they do? Who cares? Okay, ain't nobody perfect, right? Yep. So anyway, Amanda says, Jolene, I wish I can get 95 ounces of water. I can only get about 60. That's good, 60. And as you may, at some point, go up a little bit here and there, Amanda. Maybe 4 ounces up. Okay, I get to 64. All right, I'm good. And time progress. I know people that have VSG. Some of them can eat a lot. Some of them can't eat a lot even after years. It just depends on the person. But do what you can do. Do what you can do best. Stick with your doctor. The doctors that was helping. That does help you. Stick with them, and if they're saying your hydration is good at the 60, then you're good. You're good. So keep up the good work. Shani says 16.8 is my favorite, but I had to stop fasting so much due to lifting so much at night. I need few more calories for the gym. Yeah, definitely that. So what I would do, I had to stop fasting 16.8 because of my low blood sugars in the morning, and partly is because I was in that gym too late at night. Matter of fact, I can be at the gym, come home, eat, and then grab them weights again at this house, or get to walking at this house. I could do that too. So I had to calm that down. I was talking to Patrice one day, and she was like, "Look, why is you exercising in the middle of the night?" I mean, it just became habit. It just became something I did. I loved it, and I'm just like, trying to make sure my blood sugars are not going up, but I'm making them go lower. I'm making them go lower. Not thinking about that it's gonna go lower. So yeah, I feel you on that. But so I decided don't do those exercises too late at night. But what I do, Shani, is I will eat after the gym. I do make sure I eat after the gym, and I eat a good balanced meal after the gym. And then I also, most nights I'll get a little snack, maybe an hour or two before bed, to make sure I'm good when it comes to my fasting blood sugars when I wake up the next day. Since I don't, well, I'll just say, when I check my fasting sugars the next day, I'll make sure it's not good. But like I said, I'm using my body to let me know now, compared to, what I was doing, obsessing over those numbers on the glucometer. Amanda says, I've been on Manjaro for almost 3 years now. I was on Manjaro before, had the VSG, so that's why it was easy to skip. I had every dose. Yeah, I got you. Thank you for explaining that to everyone. Amanda, Miss Jolene says, Amanda, I'm a water lover. I do 120 ounces daily. Yeah, she just can't do it because she had the VSG, and then also now on on Manjaro, so that's a lot for her. Even for VSG, I know my sister has had VSG surgery, one of my sisters, and she can't drink like that either. And if she drinks too early before eating, she's not gonna be able to eat. So, and she's had it. She's it's been years now, and she still, have that issue. Well, like I said, some people don't. They will eat right on through that VSG surgery. Um, so I got you. So skipping 10 milligrams didn't seem much. All right. 96 hours of fasting, girl. How did you do that, honey? I thought you meant 96 ounces of water. No, water fasting. I prepared mentally. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I was talking about, Miss Jolene. Preparing mentally. For tracking, Amanda. We're gonna prepare mentally. I know I've done it. Patrice has done it. I don't know how many other people had an issue with the love or hate relationship, but I know we have. So you can prepare mentally, Miss Amanda, and you can do it. You got this. You got this, boo. You got this. All right. So, Miss Linda, good night. Good night, my dukes. Talk to you soon. All right. And then Miss Amanda says 120 ounces daily. See, I am a VSG girl, so I can't get them right that much. I was 8 months post op. Yeah, I am 8 months post op. I feel you on that. My sister years post op, and she still can't get that much water in. She's doing a little bit better, because she is doing, she went up in small increments, and so she can get more in than what she was before. But she's probably about where you at. Yep. And that's years later. So yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and go now so I can get me some more grub in, and make sure that I'm trying to see what this is. Is Shani in the jail? She was. I wonder if she got that thing in her. What is this, Shani? Shani might be. She said by earlier, so she might be. What you call it? But dialing us, or because I don't know what point. 01 point is. I'm gonna bother her. I'm gonna tease her about it. Miss Shirley says, I understand I had that surgery years ago and lost 100 pounds. Look at you, Miss Jolene. Look at you. Look at you. Shana says, LOL, sorry. You okay, Shani? All right. Well, thank you for keeping me on. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Helping me my little watch hours. Yes, yes. All right. You going live, Shani, tonight? Are you going live? So I know, because baby, sometimes you pop up on live, and honey, I don't see the notifications. I'm doing some other things with my life. Let me know before we go, if you can. You might be already pushing iron, honey, pumping iron. I don't know. But I do thank y'all and appreciate y'all for coming in, for staying in with me as much as you could tonight. I greatly appreciate all those who will be on the replay. Y'all, I think I'm going to find my dietitian. How about that? Let me say that again. Y'all, I think I'm about to find my dietitian. She don't know yet, but I think so. Yes. Okay. Yeah. It's up to you. I was just wondering. I didn't know if you had thought about doing it. It's up to you, sweetheart. Miss Jolene says, thank you, Kim J. Great live. Thank you so much, Miss Jolene, for hanging out with me tonight. And I'm happy you was able to come in. And I know sometimes you may be sleeping, honey. That baby be sleeping around this time sometimes. So I thank you for coming in. I'm happy you was able to make it tonight, and be here most of the live. Yes, yes. All right. And then Miss Shani says, I'm out walking. Okay. Got you. Okay, I can do live in 30 minutes. Okay, cool. I'll be over. Miss Tucker says, that's me too. If I drink water first, I can't eat. Right. Exactly. So, and then you got to try to, so you got to, which one can I do? Which one I need? Do I need the nourishment? Do I need the water? Which one? So yeah, I do understand. And even on GLP-1, it's like that sometimes. For me, I'm like, I need to make sure I'm doing it little by little, even with the stepping, even with me walking. I love my walking outside, preferably, as well as, then maybe the gym, then the treadmill here. But either way, I'm gonna get it in. But I like doing, I had to learn, do a little bit at a time throughout the day, right? It helps your speed your metabolism up, or what have you, instead of doing like 1.5 hours, or 30 minutes here and then an hour and a half here. Sometimes that might be too much. It's too much for my knees most days. So I just spread it out a little bit. And the same thing with that water. Instead of trying to gulp all this water in at night, I need to do a little bit throughout the day. And by the time the end of the day comes, I'll be, where I need to be at. Same thing with food, the same way. That's why sometimes they tell you to eat 6 small meals, or 5 small meals, three, a little bit smaller meals, and then 2 snacks, whatever you got to do to get it in, but try to get it in, and those are good ways to do that. Going live now. Okay. All right. Well, let me get on off of here. I use the what is it called? App to track. I don't know how you say that word either, but she used that, y'all. She used that to track, y'all. She used that to track, y'all. Okay, y'all see it. Is it buried? I don't know, child. Let me stop. Look, let me go and get on Shani Live real quick. Shani, butt dialing. Oh, Lord, she butt dialing again. She ain't ready. All right, if y'all are up, go check out Shiny. Y'all look, if y'all got your notification bells on, y'all will get it. Unless y'all be like me in the kitchen trying to make her food. Then I'll be like, text me, Shiny, text me. Good nights, Cool J. Thanks for staying in. I didn't know you were still here. Hey, thank you, Cool J. I greatly appreciate it. Well, Cool J, what's your name? If you don't mind telling me before you go. It's Amanda Tucker. I went live earlier. She said, I saw you did. I didn't see you when you were on live, but I saw your what you call that thing? The thumbnail. I saw the thumbnail. I go back and check it out. Check it out. Yep. I did see it. It popped up for me. I was busy today, y'all. I had some things going on, honey. So yeah, and I got something tomorrow and Thursday to do. So yeah. But I'll check it out, Amanda, later on when I can, or I try to do it tomorrow. Yep. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Peace. Yes, yes. Y'all keep living y'all sweet healthy lives.